A dark office. A man named Ono Tadashi is outraged by why such terrible documents are still being printed in the 21st century. Judging by the clock, it's already late. The protagonist wonders if he'll even make it to the last train home. The main character is about to leave, but suddenly notices something on his computer screen. He looks at the beautiful, natural landscape and thinks about how he would like a peaceful and quiet life in the village. He feels a little sad, but suddenly he remembers the train and says that if he doesn't hurry, he won't get home today. Suddenly, boxes of papers fall on him. He lets out a loud cry of surprise and swears. The entire rack falls right on top of him. He looks at his blood and silently gets annoyed at why he has to work overtime today. He realizes that even if he had called for help, no one would have come. He looks up at the table where his computer is and says he won't make the last train. He tries to call someone but realizes there's no point in asking for help because he won't be here any longer. He looks at the photo on his computer and watches with admiration as people work in the village. He says it feels like the end is near. His vision is gradually starting to fade. He wakes up in an unfamiliar place and someone calls him a lost soul. A beautiful girl stands in front of him. She greets him and tells him that he is now in Avesta. The girl introduces herself as a goddess of beginnings named Arya. Tadashi asks to give him a minute. The goddess explains that the protagonist doesn't really understand what's happening yet. She says that he was brought to this world, called Esther, after he died on Earth. Tadashi finally realizes everything and says that he must have died. He thinks to himself that it was some kind of meaningless death. He looks around and is amazed by what he sees. He wonders if he is in heaven, but remembers that the goddess spoke of another world. The goddess tells him that he has a chance to be reborn and start over in another world. Tadashi thinks about it again. The goddess confirms that this is a real chance to live life again. His soul is very pure, so he deserves their blessings. She calls the other gods, asking them to come to her call. The gods appear before the protagonist. Arya says that this is her family, the 12 gods of the Avesta, and that he himself can choose one of them to receive blessings. The hero looks at them and sees that they are all very different. Suddenly, he notices an old man. He approaches his grandfather in a hat, asks for forgiveness, and turns back to him. The grandfather first asks questions, and then says that he is Kronos, the god of agriculture. The protagonist exclaims in surprise and asks again, looking at the grandfather. The old man suddenly turns away and says that he will say nothing more. He persistently asks the young man to leave. The grandfather adds that he is almost certain that the young man will say that working in the forest is too boring and that it is not worth choosing such happiness for a new life in another world. He also adds that if you want to become a hero, it is better to choose the god Helcobalt or the goddess of wisdom Mia. The grandfather says that the wise men are now very respected and powerful, and with their blessing, the boy will be able to use magic. But the young man refuses because he prefers farming, as strange as it may sound. The grandfather was very surprised and asked if the boy was joking and if he had heard his words correctly. The boy replied that he had long dreamed of living peacefully in a quiet village, and the blessing of the god of agriculture was ideal for this. Rumpus still doesn't believe it and stammers a little, asking if he really wants that choice. Then he says that if he wants to become a master, a volcano would be a better fit. The boy asks Kronos what he suggests. The god of agriculture is glad you asked. He explains that agriculture is a living system, and it includes not only plowing fields, forestry, fishing, raising livestock, brewing, cooking, processing products, but also a lot of different things. The main character says that he trusts him in this situation. He addresses him as Mr. Kronos. The grandfather starts to cry, and the boy asks in surprise if he really cries from his words. The grandfather replies that he cannot hold back his tears because 10,000 years have passed since the creation of the world. During all this time, 24 people have come here, and this boy is the first to choose agriculture. The young man asks if this is true. God remembers that he hasn't asked the boy's name yet. The main character introduces himself. His name is Ono Tadashi. Grandpa says it's a beautiful name. He is still surprised by this guy, and says with doubt that it is strange to be reborn and start farming. He does not hide it, and adds that the guy will definitely not regret his choice. Then he turns to Arya. The goddess asks what is the matter. Grandpa says he won't have that opportunity again. But he has a request, even if it costs him his life. He asks to give all his power to Ono Tadashi. The goddess replies that she heard him. Grandfather turns to Dasha and says that he is giving him all his power. Suddenly, everything around him lights up. The main character notices something new on his hand and asks what it is. He is explained that this is a sign. Now he is the chosen one, and he is the one who must save the world. He looks at his hand where the mark has appeared. This is the blessing of the god of agriculture. 7 stars. Suddenly, someone calls old Kronos and asks him to wait. But here stands the god of heroes and the goddess of wisdom, Mia, who demands an explanation and says he's gone crazy. Giving a person 7 stars is a violation of the rules. Grandpa asks why she took it and suggests she take a look for herself. He also wonders what the rules are. The god of heroes replies that he doesn't care, but people have always been given a maximum of 5 stars. Mia supports him and says that even if it's agriculture, you can't just give a person 7 stars. She also adds that the laws of this world cannot be broken, and Ms. Arya won't just leave it like that. The protagonist turns to Arya and asks if this is true. The old man interrupts angrily and orders her to be quiet and listen to him. Grandpa tells her to shut up and reminds her that agriculture is the foundation of people's lives. Arya asks everyone to listen to her and explains that everything has its reasons. She turns to the goddess of wisdom and adds that the world is now on the verge of destruction. She says that in that case, Avastar is waiting for the end. Mia is confused and doesn't know how to respond to this. Arya continues to explain that the world there is still underdeveloped, with most of its inhabitants still fighting for territory, and many places are suffering from hunger and poverty. She asks Mia how many people she has helped with 2024. Mia replies that it's around 533, or so she thinks. Then she turns to Helcobalt and clarifies, he has already blessed at least 800 people. Does she understand correctly? The god of heroes confirms this. Arya says that, apart from rare cases, there have been at least 4 humans who have been transformed into dragons. These people have received the blessings of the monster god. There have also been 24 demon lords under the tutelage of Diabel, the demon god, and 6 blacksmiths who were granted the abilities by Vulcan himself. But Arya says that he was the one who first chose the god of agriculture. His abilities are not for battle, so the 7 stars will not make him the god of battle. She says that the more food in the world, the better for him. Mia emphasizes that no matter how many times Miss Arya explains this to her, she still won't agree with it. She looks at the guy displeasedly and asks if he's Ono Tadashi. The protagonist answers in the affirmative and wonders what will happen next. The girl asks why he can't choose one of them right now. She says he has a big soul and deserves more than just working on a farm. The god of agriculture is indignant, and the girl wonders what the problem is. Kronos turns to Mia and Helcobalt, but suddenly stops and remembers that the main character needs tools, so he needs to contact Vulcan. Grandpa says that he already gave Tadashi permission, so he can vouch for him. Mia is indignant and asks who he is to make such a decision. The god of agriculture says that he is the hope of this world, but the monsters here are very strong. Even with his blessing, Tadashi will be weak in battle. He believes that one blessing is not enough. Mia objects. That is not possible. She claims that no one has ever received blessings from multiple gods at once. The old man says that she is very petty, and if he wants to survive in the Avesta, he must fight. Then he turns to the god of heroes and asks if he agrees, because all this is for the sake of saving the world. He apologizes and says no. The god of agriculture falls to his knees before him. The man is very surprised and says that gods should not bow to each other like that. The old man explains that he is very weak and that is all he can do. Tadashi. At the same time, Helka thinks to himself that Kronos has gone too far. The god of heroes hesitantly agrees until Kronos raises his head. Helcobalt says he will give him the hero's blessing, exactly 1 star. He asks the protagonist to extend his hand and the glow reappears. Then he turns to Vulcan and says that now it's his turn. Vulcan replies that he agrees with Kronos, but he can't even give him 1 star. He asks what's wrong with him. Then he looks at Tadashi questioningly. He thinks to himself that he's very weak and answers in the affirmative. He begins to explain that when the gods give a person a blessing, they make their faith stronger, but it is always at the expense of the one who chose them. How to pay in return? The main character apologizes and says that he has no money. Vulcan is sincerely surprised, laughs loudly, and turns to Kronos. They say, "This guy is really funny." Vulcan explains that the fee is not money and can be paid later. For example, it could be a regular shrine or altar. The boy understands that this is a place of worship. The god of blacksmithing says that he prefers quality alcohol and delicious food, and then adds that he was the one who first chose agriculture. The protagonist happily thanks Vulcan and turns to the god of heroes, asking what he wishes. He replies that he would rather not give him his blessing. Tadashi says that if he wants, he can take it back. He says that he is well-mannered and advises to just forget about it. And I thought it was an ordinary gift. Finally, he adds, "The main thing is not to carry resentment in your heart." The goddess of the beginning turns to the protagonist and asks if he is ready. He answers in the affirmative and thanks her. Arya tells him to leave the gods' blessings in the human world. The girl smiles and wishes him a happy life. The protagonist is surprised. She snaps her fingers. The main character finds himself in some kind of cloud. He screams loudly. Trees are visible. A moment later, he falls to the ground. The protagonist is very surprised and asks loudly where he is. He sees a desert around him. This is a Vesha, a subcontinent that is in Limbo. Praenus comes down from above and appears here. He greets the protagonist. The protagonist looks at him with a question in his eyes. The old man says that he will now briefly tell him what is happening. The main character says that he doesn't even understand where he is. The old man looks at the surrounding landscape, lists everything he sees, mountains, rivers, forests, plains, and then adds that the place doesn't matter. The main thing is that there is everything necessary for life here. Dashi understands that everything is fair here with the air, and thinks to himself that he wanted to farm in a quiet city, not end up somewhere in the remote steppe. He says he's glad to finally be doing what he's dreamed of doing all his life, but he wonders why he has to start from scratch. The old man replies that this is the only place where no human foot has ever set foot. He explains that in every country, taxes are necessarily levied for such activities. The protagonist is very surprised, because he had never even thought that taxes could exist in another world. The old man asks if the boy still wants to go to that country, because there he will have to pay high taxes to the aristocrats and endure humiliation from them. The boy asks to continue the story. The main character thinks for the first time. In this fantasy world, the gods themselves reveal all the maps of their world. The farmers here are very poor, and because of taxes, they barely have enough to live on. Someone might think that this is a test from the gods, but I am sure that this is not the case at all. The old man says that all the countries in the world are mired in wars and corruption, and only he can save everyone. He also adds that he would not want the boy to experience the worst of what is happening around him. The main character replies that the old man is a very good person and sincerely thanks him. He asks God to let him know if these lands are truly uninhabited. God replies that this subcontinent is called Limbo and is considered to be rejected from God's blessing. It is very easy to break a tool on the local rocks, because both the stones and the trees here are stronger than iron. The river here is filled with poison instead of water. The old man says that no one will survive in this place. The main character is indignant and asks how to live here then. Grandfather angrily asks to listen to the end. He says that these lands have fallen out of favor with the gods, which is why everything is so bad here. But he is lucky. He has been blessed by the god of agriculture, and he has the power of 7 stars. The protagonist asks how he can use this power. The old man replies that he must first dip his hands in the river. The boy is indignant and asks again. He reaches for the water. I think to myself that this is the same poisonous river. Suddenly light appears, and the water becomes clean and drinkable. The old man says that now it is okay to drink. The protagonist is surprised, but agrees. The old man says that his blessing can purify any water. The boy is happy and sincerely thanks him. But God says that it is too early to thank him, and explains that when his body was transferred to this world, he became 20 years old again. God adds that now the boy is not afraid of injuries or diseases. The protagonist understands why he has felt light in his body from the very beginning. The god of agriculture says he is leaving the boy a small parting gift. The old man looks briefly at the young man. Dasha wonders what it is, and Grandpa replies, "It's like a magic bag, and it's perfect for farming. It has endless space, and the things inside don't spoil over time. This means that even the harvest won't spoil." The main character is asked if they can be sure that they will take it. The old man says, "If you don't take into account the fact that he took it from the treasury without permission, then everything is fine." The guy denies, "You can't do that." God tells him not to worry because he will ask her for forgiveness later. And then he adds that it is her own fault, because she did not give him the blessing. So now let her pay with her things. The boy says he will do anything to forgive the old man and asks her what kind of sacrifice she wants. The old man tells him not to worry and explains that if she is angry, it is better not to approach her at all. God calls them to continue the conversation. He clarifies that the main character has understood. The purified water is now safe to drink. Grandfather replies that they can move on, but now they need to find food. He says that the boy can even fill a bag with water, and suggests that he try. When the boy fills it with water, God praises him and explains that until he finds clay and makes a vessel, he will have to somehow get by. The main character pours water out of the bag and says that now the disposable tableware will disappear. And suddenly, he notices something strange. Suddenly, a fish swims into his net. He is very surprised and exclaims loudly in surprise. Stammering, he asks what just happened and clarifies whether it was really a fish. The old man is happy about this, congratulates him on his first catch, and jokes that there is already food. His grandfather advises him to walk through the forest and look for something useful there. The trees are bare. The main character picks up a branch from the ground. The protagonist himself is surprised that these trees are truly magical and made of iron. The old man asks if he has found anything. Tadashi happily replies that he is surprised. The blessing even helps him understand the local plants. The old man says that this is quite expected because with this level of analysis it is normal. He says that the only thing he doesn't understand is what Alicia's grass is for. The god of agriculture replies that the boy is lucky. This plant is very rare and is named after the goddess of healing, Alicia. In fact, it shouldn't grow here, so he himself doesn't know how the boy found it. The old man assumes that she sees them and is helping them. The boy says that he will definitely thank her and plant the grass as soon as he has free time. The grandfather praises him for his kindness. The grandfather asks what they will plant right here and says that first they need to prepare the ground. Meanwhile, the boy is tinkering behind him. The grandfather turns around and sees that the boy has made a tool. He praises the boy and says that it is a very clever idea. The guy says that it turned out almost as he wanted, but instead of a shovel, he accidentally made a trowel. The old man calms him down and says that it is still a great start for working on the land from scratch. He adds that the goal has already been set and advises the hero to work with all his heart. Tadashi believes this is his first swing of this tool on this earth. He begins to count to himself, the hoe hitting the ground with a dull thud. A large part of the earth splits apart. The god of fertility is very surprised and asks in surprise what is happening. The boy also exclaims, feeling embarrassed. Grandpa exclaims loudly again. The boy asks what happened. Grandpa cannot hide his surprise, but Grandpa says he needs to ask the boy what he just did. Tadashi replies that Grandpa told him to put his heart and soul into this, so he did just that. God mutters something under his breath and asks if everything is okay. The old man picks up a handful of soil and thinks that this man has not only cultivated the plot, but also made the soil better. The old man says that he really doesn't know, and no one has ever received the blessing of the god of agriculture before. He also doubts that his powers can do this to people. The god suggests that the main character influenced himself. He also adds that human desires can work miracles. A few words about human desires. The main character suddenly has a memory from the past. The same screensaver with the image of nature appears on the computer screen again. The main character says that he always dreamed of doing something like this. In fact, the old man says that he knew he was a good person, and now God has called him to try to water the earth. The main character waters the ground and sees the soil take on its natural color. Grandpa advises him to plant something right now, like grass. Alessaya remembers that he had grass. The main character plants plants and they grow instantly. She exclaims in surprise, "Why is it growing so fast and how is that even possible?" Grandpa mumbles and says that he feels his power coming out. It's Tadashi's blessing. It allows him to grow any plant in just 3 days. The protagonist thanks him for the explanation and adds that now it makes a little more sense to him. The old man is surprised that the boy is not even surprised. He advises the main character to collect the bones of animals they met on the road, grind them into powder, and use them as fertilizer. The boy waters the plants, and they start growing even faster. The main character exclaims again with delight. The grandfather adds that even fertilizers work better, and at this speed he will be able to grow a large tree in just 2 days. Grandfather suggests planting something else, and the boy happily agrees. God reminds him that it is getting late and he needs to chop wood for the fire. The main character says that he does not feel like cutting down a tree that is about to grow. He gently touches the tree, as if asking for forgiveness. The boy begins to chop down a tree. He asks God if he should dry it first before lighting the fire. God replies that he will explain everything in a moment. Freshly cut trees contain a lot of moisture, and they won't be good for starting a fire. However, under good conditions, they should dry out in about 3 days. According to the boy, 3 days isn't that long. The old man says not to worry because there is a better option. He advises the protagonist to take and endure the tree. The protagonist asks again, and the old man agrees, comparing it to a rag. Tadashi squeezes the tree as if it were a rag. He is very surprised and exclaims with a question. God says that he understands what could have surprised him so much. The main character is surprised that this is also a blessing from God because it looks more like magic. He still does not understand how a tree can just grow out of nothing. The old man turns to the boy and advises him not to judge everything by the laws of his world, because deities and people endowed with their power live here. He says that blessings are not magic, but the ability of God himself, because God has unlimited possibilities. And he reminds us that this boy also received a blessing, so let him not forget that. The young man looks at his hand and wonders to himself how incredible the 7-star blessing of the god of agriculture is. The old man suggests lighting a fire. The young man apologizes and asks how to make a fire. God advises him not to worry, but to simply take some dry grass and spread it out. The protagonist does so, then asks if everything is correct. The old man replies that everything is fine, and now he needs to take 2 stones and hit them together to make a spark. The main character does everything as God says. He first gets a spark, and then fire. God orders to transfer the flame to a tree, and the hero does so. As a result, a bonfire breaks out. Tadashi asks God if he likes this bonfire. The god of agriculture replies that of all the things he has done, he enjoyed making the fire himself the most and says it is fun. The protagonist adds that this night bonfire is exactly what he has long dreamed of. The god of agriculture says he's right, because sometimes it's just good to sit and talk to someone by the fire. They looked at the fire and talked all night. Watching the stars and listening to the sounds of nature, the main character felt nostalgic, because in a past life he could only dream of such things, and their ancestors lived like this. Morning came to Dasha and new thoughts. The god of agriculture asks her, "So what really happened?" In response, he says that he was just thinking about his future and decided that he definitely needed to build a house. He also needed something to boil water in, and in general, many different things. God asks what is stopping him, because yesterday he found clay. The protagonist mentions it and says he had completely forgotten about it. He adds sand to make the material stronger. He is doing well at it, and he notes that for someone who was previously completely incapable of doing it, he is now doing quite well. The protagonist assumes that he is being influenced by the blessing of the god of blacksmiths. The old man asks what it is, looking at the beautiful rope in the young man's hands. The young man replies that it is Dzimon pottery, and explains that his ancestors made it. The god of agriculture says that it is very interesting, and that things from his world look just fine too. The main character says that all you have to do is roast them over a fire. He notices that everything is already starting to turn black. God laughs nearby. He says that everything is happening exactly as he said. The young man asks what he is talking about. There is a sense of incomprehension in the hero's voice. The grandfather explains that if everything is done too quickly, the dishes can break. But with the blessing of the god of blacksmithing, everything turns out well. The boy replies that he will then continue polishing the dishes. That way, they will look better and will have some protection from moisture. They continue to cook. The main character notices that he hasn't felt this much joy from work in a long time. Usually, he just sat and did the same things from morning to night. The boy says he is hungry and needs to cook something. God reminds him that while he was drawing water, he caught a fish. Dashi tells him to wait, and they ask if this fish is even edible. God replies that it is a demonic salmon, it can be eaten, but it is very difficult to catch. Then he adds that if it is cooked incorrectly, the fish will become poisonous. The guy asks again and is surprised. The god of agriculture calms him down and says that everything is fine, because as soon as he touched it, the poison was immediately cleansed. The protagonist asks if this is true. God says that if he doesn't like something, he can quit fishing and take up martial arts. And the boy says that he refuses. He just wants to be a regular farmer and nothing more. The old man says he's only joking, but reminds us that some creatures remain dangerous even after cleansing. And that's exactly what lives in the forest here. God calms him down, promising to stay with him that night. But then he advises him to find some kind of hiding place or build a small house. The boy suddenly notices something, faints, and asks what it is. The old man replies that it is just some kind of unclean bird and advises him not to think about it. The boy says he needs to make a weapon. God asks why, since he already has one. The boy explains that demonic ore and wood are stronger than steel, so any tool made from them would be better than a regular sword. He also reminds the protagonist that he is a true hero and has a blessing. Stalin says that he is stronger than anyone in this world. The guy answers uncertainly. Still, he thinks it's better to prepare. The old man supports him and asks if he remembers the Alicia herb, adding that it can be used to make a sleeping pill. The god of agriculture says, "It is always better to be prepared in advance. After all, if you follow this rule, you can save not only yourself in the future, but also many other people." The guy looks at him and thinks, what is he talking about? But still, this is God. There is no point in arguing with him. He suggests continuing cooking. First he cuts the salmon, throws it into boiling water, and adds some mushrooms. The boy thought it smelled quite appetizing. He tasted it and realized that the dish was very tasty, but it lacked miso, sauce, or even plain salt. The god of agriculture asked why not add some kind of potion. Alicia was standing nearby, and Tadashi asked if that was okay. He notices that it tastes even better. The old man says that it is actually one of the ingredients of the elixir of life, but as a seasoning it is also not bad. The soup is being prepared. The old man says that even though he is God, he can still accept food as an offering. The protagonist doubts whether this is true and asks what God would like to receive as a gift first. God replies that he would actually like a stone statue, but must be happy with what he has. The food is ready. Grandpa wishes the boy a good meal. He asks if he likes the food. God replies that the food is very tasty and says that he hasn't tasted anything better in a long time. Tadashi is glad that he liked it. The god of agriculture says that he would even invite that guy with the green hair to try this, and although it is a bit presumptuous, he would like to have his own statue. The hero wonders if he is talking about a volcano. Grandpa confirms that it is, and adds that after all, he is capable of creating the best tools in the world. The god of blacksmithing appears out of nowhere. Vulcan says that he doesn't need much persuasion. Kronos hands him a bowl of soup and asks him to try it. Vulcan immediately notices that it is fish soup. He tries it, and Tadashi asks him if he likes it, calling him Mr. Vulcan. He says it's delicious. Kronos turns to Vulcan and says that once he eats, he should get to work. Vulcan asks what he's talking about and says he'd better rest a little longer. The god of agriculture agrees and says to eat, but also asks him to listen carefully. He throws something into the god of Forge's hand and asks if he knows what it is. Vulcan replies that it is demonic ore. Kronos asks if he can handle it and says it is impossible for him. But for the blacksmith god with his divine power, nothing is impossible. Vulcan wonders why a divine power has appeared here at all. The old man is very surprised and asks with astonishment. He says that he has never heard that any ordinary person could do anything with it. He demands to know what the secret is. The god of blacksmithing says that the problem is that people don't know how to think big. He turns to the protagonist and explains that the work will require several tools: a furnace, an anvil, a hammer, and tongs to keep the metal hot. Tadashi asks to speak a little more slowly. God says that they will start with something simple: a furnace. He adds that he would like to see some more molds for melting and a place for the material nearby, but for now it is good. The protagonist finishes building the furnace and says it's ready. Vulcan advises to light the fire and add air and wood until the temperature reaches maximum. The god of blacksmithing praises him and says that now all that is left is to add fire. Tadashi denies that demonic trees do not burn. The god asks if he is sure of this, because if you try hard enough, you can set fire to such wood. It's just that not everyone is willing to put in the effort, so the idea arose that this wood does not burn. Tadashi says that nothing is burning anyway. The god of forging replies that he knows, and asks him to wait a bit and watch carefully. Gradually, the flames begin to engulf the branches. Vulcan asks the protagonist if he sees this, and explains, the color of the fire has changed from red to blue. Tadashi says that it simply requires a higher temperature to ignite the material, and suggests that the same is true for demonic ore. The god of blacksmithing praises him and notes that he has understood everything correctly. They add that Mia does not understand this and constantly tries to take items made of this material from him. Vulcan says he already knows what to do, so it's time to act. He promises to be there and let you know if needed. The protagonist thanks him. Tadashi gets down to business. He works the stone, and the ore turns blue. He thinks about it and decides that he must be doing everything right. The god of forging addresses him. The protagonist trembles and responds uncertainly, with fear. But the god of forging only praises him. He says that since the aura has turned blue, now it can be worked with. He also adds that he has never had a better student. The hero thanks him for the praise. The main character wondered what to do next, but he decided that it would be better to ask Vulcan. The god of blacksmithing advised, if you don't know where to start, first make just a plate, and then you can forge a hammer or something similar from it. He thinks that even if nothing works out, at least he will know where to move next. Vulcan says that everything is fine, and when you're done, put it in the water. He also adds that as a result you will get blue ore. It is very strong and suitable for making wonderful tools. He praises the main character and adds that this is a good start. The main character holds the finished tool in his hand and says that his hammer is already made, and he was able to do it. He also adds that the tool looks so-so, but the main thing is that it does its job. Over time, everything will get better. The god of blacksmithing confirms that everything turned out great, and advises to practice more. Then everything will definitely be even better. The protagonist promises to try harder and asks to be taught. Vulcan says that's good, and advises them to try to mine more ore next time and build a better forge. He also wonders if the boy can work with earthen materials. The boy shows the clay pots and is surprised that God did not pay attention to these products. Tadashi explains that he made them by firing them in a high fire. He adds that they are ceramics. God says that it is time to improve the quality of ceramics, and suggests, why not build a special kiln for firing? The guy says that if he helps, he will only be happy. God replies that he has nowhere to go, so Dasha and Vulcan start working together. Their speed would have made anyone jealous. Together they easily achieved anything they wanted. The main character falls asleep. The man next to him says that he has finally fallen asleep. He adds that it is a bit strange. Even the lucky one still needs rest. But he does not mind. He advises him to sleep because the hero has been working for 2 days in a row. The god of agriculture says that they have taken good care of Tadashi's development. In response, Vulcan agrees and adds that if the god of agriculture himself thinks so, then everything is right. A seed planted in fertile soil and well cared for will surely grow and bear generous fruits in the future. In response, another man asks him if he thinks the young man will reveal himself. He replies that he can't say for sure. He says that in the days they spent together, he has noticed one thing. The guy is not the kind of person who is willing to risk his life. Vulcan says that in any case, he prepared him well, and maybe he won't be able to save the world. But he has every chance to make this world at least a little better. At the same time, the god of agriculture thinks to himself that the place where the boy ended up is just an abandoned prison of the Avesta world. God believes that while Tadashi is here, he can change everything, and not just for the locals, but for the gods themselves. He says the boy should at least try, and they'll just see how it turns out. The god of blacksmithing thinks for a moment, but agrees that it is so. Kronos agrees with him. Both gods turn around and see that the young man has woken up. One of them exclaims that Tadashi is no longer asleep, and turns to him. God says that his training is complete, and that they are now leaving him alone. Tadashi thanks them. Nearby, Vulcan remarks that he hasn't had such students in a long time. He asks the main character to contact him if there are any problems, but the man warns that he won't just work like that, and advises to prepare a nice gift first. Everyone laughs. Tadashi says that everything is fine, and that he can be counted on. The Minister of Agriculture says that first you need to arrange everything for yourself and start living, and only then think about the victims. The guy replies that this is logical, but thanks for the advice anyway. Nearby, a volcano urges Kronos to move faster. The old man says he will miss him, but these are the rules. He asks to take care of himself. The man agrees and thanks him again for the help. The gods fly away. Krono exclaims that they will definitely meet again. The protagonist looks after them and agrees. They will definitely meet again. Looking at the rising sun, he says that it is time to harvest his first harvest. Thus began his new life in this world. After the third harvest, the field changed greatly. The cypresses and chestnuts he had planted were already beginning to resemble a real forest. He built himself a small house, a grain warehouse, and a small cellar. This is enough for the quiet life he dreamed of. But the main character admits that he has been feeling lonely lately. But he thinks that this is just a downside of living on the edge of the world. Then he started to want to have a pet, and the guy wondered where to find one in the middle of such a wilderness. Suddenly, the main character hears some screams. He thinks what kind of screams they are. He admits to himself that he doesn't really want to get involved, but he decides to at least take a look. If something goes wrong, he'll run away. They follow the sound of screams. The main character is very surprised. Suddenly he sees in front of him a puppy running away from some monster. He thinks that if he does nothing, it will be bad. He asks himself what he should do. He hesitates whether to try to save someone or whether it is better to run away. Suddenly he remembers the words of the god of agriculture that he is now much stronger. The protagonist understands what needs to be done. With determination, he takes the tool out of his bag and thinks that the god of agriculture is really helping him. The protagonist tells the monster to stay away from him and picks up the poker from the floor. He wonders if he managed to scare the monster. The monster looks at him intently. He is still looking for the puppy. The man says he is very pushy. The boy develops a plan, and he thinks, if it doesn't work out directly, he must do something else. If it flies, just shoot it down. He throws dirt at the monster with his hoof and shouts to get it. The monster is surprised and indignant. The protagonist asks if he wants more and tells him to fly up. The monster shouts at him angrily. The main character slams him into the ground again and shouts that there's enough land here, so don't be shy. He warns him not to even try to climb in here, otherwise he'll bury him right there. The boy tells the bird not to come back and calls it a huge chicken. The little animal trembles in Dasha's arms. He asks her what she thinks of herself and what terrible wounds she has. The main character looks at the animal's terrible wounds. He asks her to wait a moment and starts taking things out of his bag. He takes out some kind of plant and bandages the wound with these leaves. He assumes that this should help. Tadashi strokes the animal's head. The protagonist asks the puppy where he came from and where his parents are. He thinks that this little one is clearly not local, probably got lost or ran away from that monster. The protagonist sees the puppy reaching for a bone and asks if he wants a bone. The animals are completely hungry. Only bones are left. The man is asked what he is doing, and he answers loudly. He believes that if the puppy eats such bones, it will break all its teeth. The main character gives it food and tells it to eat. The animal smiles to itself. I think it's very cute. Although no one knows who it is, it looks a lot like a dog. Tadashi says that the animal can't stay here and asks if it wants to go with him. The animal makes happy sounds. The main character takes the puppy in his arms and says that now they will be happy together because they will live together. Then he remembers that the baby needs to be given a name and looks at it carefully, hesitating between choices. The main character has an idea. He says that since the animal makes strange sounds, it will now be called Kura. The guy is glad that now he is not alone. The main character lies in bed and thinks, the forest is growing, the fields are getting wider. He already has several types of different plants from which he can cook food. But he is worried that the season is ending very soon, and he has not had time to do much of what he planned. He looks out the window and thinks he might find out what's there. Then he goes outside and starts packing. Looking at the collected things, he admits that he himself does not know what exactly is there, but one must be prepared for anything. He turns to the courier, whom he already considers an adult. The guy notices how quickly he has grown up. Tadashi thinks to himself, not sure if it's normal to grow so fast, but either way, he must be some kind of subspecies. Like dogs in this world. He tells Kur that they are going on a little journey. The animal growls as if asking why. He points over the horizon and explains that they are going to the sea to get salt. He doesn't know how many days it will take, but there is nothing for them to do here at this time of year. The boy asks the animal if it sees where he is pointing. The animal growls happily, as if asking the main character to write it down. Tadashi asks again and refuses. After all, he can get there himself. The beast still forces the main character to sit on it. He is very surprised, and even exclaims in surprise. The animal begins its journey, and they rush forward very quickly. The guy tells Kuruar that he is simply incredible, because his speed is the same as that of a car. The beast itself roars happily. They quickly reach the sea. A beautiful view opens up before them. The boy says that it would have taken many days on foot. He praises Karuta and thanks him for bringing him here. The main character thinks that the sea in this world is very similar to the one he is used to, and this surprises him. He does not even notice that the water is actually very dark. He decides that he can make it clean. The young man touches the water, and it really becomes transparent. He is delighted and loudly admires it. The boy tastes the water. It seems to him that it is salty and increasingly resembles the sea from his home world. He assumes that their worlds are very similar in general. In any case, it is worth trying to get salt. He also thinks that such an idea will now be supported. If you boil salt water and let it evaporate, the salt will remain at the bottom. The main character is preparing salt water and wondering if it can be used to make a permanent salt production. Suddenly, an animal approaches him. The guy turns to it and asks who it is. The protagonist notices the seafood with delight. The animal calls him to follow it. The protagonist asks if he should follow it. Kururu leads him to the pond. The boy admires it loudly and says it is very beautiful. He is surprised at how big the pond is. And then, when Kuru is full, they bring him a lobster in his mouth. The main characters are surprised that there are lobsters in this world at all. The main character has doubts about the lobsters because he is still in another world. But later he dismisses all doubts and says that he doesn't care if there are lobsters or not. There is delicious seafood on the table. Tadashi breaks off a piece and asks Kururu to try it. He thinks to himself that this is very tasty, and immediately feels the salty taste. Although this is not surprising, because they live in seawater. Once again he notes to himself, well, it's just delicious. Kuru is upset when the food runs out. The protagonist calms him down and promises to cook more, so don't worry. A ship is visible behind Tadashi. The protagonist thinks that Karuru has started drinking a lot. He assumes it's because of the salty food and decides that he should give Karuru water. The boy turns around and notices Kurura on the other side. He wonders, if Kurura is here, then who is drinking the water? The main character turns around and sees the girl. He exclaims loudly in surprise. The girl with cat ears says that the water is gone. The guy is still in shock and can't say a word. He mentally asks himself if it's really a girl. He thinks to himself that this girl also has ears. He has only seen such ears in various fairy tales. He wonders where she came from and whether there are problems with water in her world. The girl asks him for water and food, calling him a gentleman. The guy is surprised that he was called that, but asks her to wait a moment. A girl with tears in her eyes hugs a frozen boy. Suddenly, other girls run up to him. One of them addresses him as if he were a human and shouts for him to take his hands off Eren. The main character does not understand what is happening here at all. First a girl with cat ears, and now an elf. He assumes they were on that ship. He likes seafood so much that he didn't even notice it. Then the guy suddenly stops and asks why the girl is wearing a swimsuit, since elves usually live in the forest. He doesn't understand what's going on. The second girl asks if he heard her. She yells at him again to get away from Eren. The protagonist asks her to let him go, explaining that neither he nor they like it. Behind the elven-looking girl, the other girls start screaming for him to let her go, because it's a boy, and they find it unbelievable that Eren was grabbed by a boy. The girl with the ears again addresses the boy as Sir, and asks if she can ask for food. Tadashi replies that he will give her food, but only if she stops calling him Sir. The girl turns to an elf named Exiled and tells her that he is a good person. Exiled asks the girl to stay away from him. She asks her if she can't see that he's also human. The elf replies that humans can be very devious and that he might have poisoned the food. Tadashi denies this and says that all the seafood was recently harvested here. He also asks why he would poison food that he himself eats. He also wonders who they are. The elf is surprised by his words and asks if this is the border of human lands. The protagonist responds in surprise. What other border? I don't know about it at all. She asks where they have sailed to. It replies that God said it was the end of the world. The girl, surprised, asks about the end of the world. She wonders how she got so far, and immediately notices that the water at the edge of the world looks black and poisonous. The guy replies that he purified it because otherwise how would he get the salt and seafood? The elf questions him again and asks him not to lie. Iselina also says that she does not believe him. The guy replies, "If you do not want to believe it, that is your right, but I'm telling the truth." The girl with cat ears asks if anyone wants to eat and says she has clean water. The girl with elf ears asks her if she even understands what she's talking about. Eren asks what happened and says that there is no food or water left on the ship. She claims that if she hadn't met this man, she would have already died. Iselena hesitantly agrees. Yes, that's true. The main character says that if they need it, he is ready to share his supplies, but still refuses. Maybe he will change his mind later. The girl with elf ears replies with a refusal. She says that after everything that humans have done, they can no longer be trusted. She looks at Karuru and asks what kind of magical creature it is and why it is so big. The boy clarifies if she really means Karuru. He says that it is an ordinary dog and does not understand what she is talking about. He thinks to himself that at least he knows who Karuru is, but he still insists that it is just a small dog, well, a wolf at most. The girl exclaims in response that dogs and wolves are not that big. She screams that his fangs can easily bite through even a dragon's scales. She says she doesn't know who he thinks he is, but he is definitely the legendary Fenrir. A terrifying monster appears before her. The girl is very scared and faints. She is picked up from behind and addressed, "Mrs. Iselin, come to your senses." Tadashi is confused. Everything is blurry before his eyes. The girl slowly opens her eyes and mumbles something indistinctly. The protagonist, standing in front of her, asks if she has come to her senses yet. She screams sharply, calls him a human, and pushes him away. He asks her not to do that because the others calmly accepted his help. He says they told him what happened to them, They were fishing and got swept away. He doesn't know what they'll do next, but first, they need to gain strength and rest. He hands her a bowl and says, "Drink." She asks what it is. Tadashi says it's Lizzie's herbal drink. It should make her feel better. The girl almost falls again and asks about Alyssa's herb again. I ask him where he found such a rare plant. The main character asks how she feels. He asks if she doesn't realize that she's already dehydrated and hasn't eaten anything in a while. She had received the 3-star blessing of the goddess of healing, so she immediately knew that he was not lying, and that this herb was indeed Elysius. She thinks to herself that it is very difficult to find or buy this. She assumes that he is actually a good person. The protagonist helps her drink, but the elf quickly gets up and says she can keep drinking. The young man replies that it's fine and suggests she try to get up. She suddenly feels grass beneath her and is surprised, since they were on the beach. The protagonist explains that he lifted her because lying on the sand would be uncomfortable. The girl questions him again with disbelief and wonders how to grow Alyssa's grass. In her heart, she is still surprised by this man. She previously thought he was lying about the sea, and Fenrir is also helping him. The elf is interested in who he really is. At this moment, Tadashi strokes the animal and praises it, saying that it is well done. The girl looks at the main character's hand and notices a blessing from 9 stars. She believes that since he has the greatest blessing, it is not worth contradicting him. She apologizes for what she said and did earlier. He then introduces himself as the head of CL and the representative of the Flet archipelago, as well as Exiled to Ariadne. The man responds kindly and says that he knows about her and has heard that she is the queen of the entire archipelago. The girl asks him again, and she herself answers that she doesn't. She says that it was a long time ago, and now she is just the leader of the Sea Elves. He apologizes to her. And then I remember that I haven't introduced myself yet. He calls himself Ono Tadashi, and the girl exclaims in surprise if he's really the king. She asks again, not believing, if he really said he was the king. The main character replies in the negative and says, confused, that she heard the last name wrong. He explains that it is just a last name, and Tadashi is a first name. She is confused again, asks for his name again, and wonders if she pronounced it correctly. The girl says that if a person has a surname, then their family is famous. She suggests that the main character is either a knight or a hero or a sage. He denies it and says that he is an ordinary farmer. She asks again, surprised. Then Aaron notices the girl who has already woken up. She says that this man is good. He even has the 7-star blessings of the god of agriculture, and he can grow anything very quickly. She says she's just feeling windy, as usual. Then I ask if she really thinks anyone would just share their food. Aaron says if they hadn't accepted the help, they would have died. She hands the girl with elven ears some seafood and suggests she try it. Iselina agrees, but does so in a condescending manner. They say he will look at it now. The main character is confused and does not understand what is happening. When the girl tried it, the boy asked her if she was sure it wasn't poison. The girl sadly replied that if she wanted to test for poison, she would have made him taste it first. She added that she would have gladly refused, but right now she really needed to gain strength. The protagonist wonders what the girl meant when she said she would make him try. He assumes that there is something similar in this world. The girl with elf ears frowns, but eats anyway. The main character looks at her and smiles. At the end, she thanks him for the food and turns back to him. The guy looks at her with a question in his eyes. The girl kneels down. The protagonist is very surprised. The girl with the cat ears is also shocked. Suddenly, the girl asks the protagonist to let her become his servant. The guy asks loudly and with surprise. The protagonist repeats in his mind her words about her asking to be his slave and cannot understand what it all means. He feels the gaze of another girl standing behind him, which confuses him even more. He turns around and tells them not to pay any attention to it. He also adds that he would never in his life make a girl his servant. The elf sadly says that someone has to sacrifice themselves to help her. She adds that it has to be her. Irene objects and says that as a leader she cannot allow this, it is wrong. She offers herself as a servant for the protagonist, but Iselina refuses and shouts very loudly that this girl is the hero of the beastmen and their last hope. The protagonist, who is standing nearby, asks why they want to thank him in this way. The girls are a little confused and say that he is a man and they still owe him. The elf also adds that all people are bad and want to use them. The guy asks in surprise what she thinks of him. Iceland wondered if he would want a beautiful girl to be his servant. A strange picture came to his mind. The boy was completely confused because he could not even imagine such a thing in his life. He wondered what others thought about it. The boy says in surprise that he has always lived alone and never had servants, but adds that Kururu doesn't count. The elf asks incredulously if he is serious. The second girl wonders why he helped them then. The guy can't figure out what the problem is. To help out in case anyone needs it, he asks if they don't do that here. The girls just shake their heads in disbelief. The main character is so surprised that he can't even ask a question properly. He thinks to himself that there is something wrong with the local people. Finally, he decides that he has ended up on the Flounder Archipelago, where the elves Kay and the Beastmen live. The elf tells him that he has been captured by the military duchies of the people from the Eastern Sea. The boy asks if these people obey him. She says that even before the duchy took over, demons were constantly attacking from the North Sea. Many of her friends were eaten then. The boy was horrified mentally. It was really scary. She adds that the sea elves and beastmen have always been weak peoples and have been forced to retreat to the borders during conflicts. But now the archipelago has been divided between demons and humans. Irina continues and says that among those who survived, only girls remained. She explains that all the men either disappeared during the war or were eaten by demons. Iselina says that the demons only see them as food, and that the duchy is better. However, their demands are simply outrageous. Irina adds that they threatened to make her a servant if she did not fill 7 coffers to the brim with gold. She says that she does not want to work for them at all. The protagonist remembers the conversation with God and realizes that these are exactly the demands that Kronos told him about. The girls continue their story and say that in order not to become servants, they decided to run away and sailed away on a ship in search of food. The main character clenches his fist in anger and thinks that everything is very bad in this world, and people here are too cruel. He turns to Iselin and says he will share the food with them, asking if they are omnivores. The girl replies in surprise that they are. The guy takes the bag and pours food out of it. Iselin is delighted. She picks up the food, wondering what it is and why the bag is strange. He says that this should be enough for their first time. He asks if they suddenly have not enough and offers to give more if necessary. Aaron replies that everything is fine, thanks him, and again addresses him as the owner. The main character reminds him that he asked not to call him that anymore. Behind him, the girl wants to say something, but doesn't dare. He is surprised that something is wrong. The elf remembers that he gave her the grass to Alicia and is asked if he still has a lot of this grass. Tadashi replies that yes, he still has enough. There is even more in the field. He tells her to take some grass because he is still collecting it. She looks at the plants in her hands and asks about the field. I'm surprised that he grows them himself. Iselina says she would never believe it, because these plants are very rare and incredibly difficult to grow. The protagonist asks in surprise what the difficulty of growing them is. The girl with the ears tells her to calm down and reminds her that Tadashi is the king of agriculture. He has a 7-star blessing, and it's easy for him to keep her. The girl agrees that Aaron is right, because she had completely forgotten about it herself. The girl also says that there are many wounded on the island, and she is surprised that he agreed to give them the herb almost for free. The protagonist replies that she should just tell him how much more he needs, and he will give it to them. She sincerely thanks him and apologizes for not telling him about her 3-star blessing from the goddess of healing earlier. She can make a real elixir from Alicia's herb, and it will be much more effective than just the herb. The guy says it's really impressive. The girl offers to show what she is capable of right now. She takes the fragrant herb, starts crushing it, then boils water and finally pours it all into a glass jar. She picks it up and a glow appears. She calls Alicia to the goddess of healing and asks for the power to heal. The main character is surprised. It turns out to be an elixir. She says it's a small price, but let him take it as a thank you for helping Dasha. He agrees and takes the elixir. He says that this is the first time he has seen such a beautiful glass. Iselina asks from a distance if that is all because she thought he would appreciate her skill. Tadashi apologizes and says that her skill is truly impressive because even he doesn't know how to make such a beautiful glass. In response, she says that glass is made from ordinary sand, so he can make it too. She calls another girl named Asya. She approaches Mrs. Aislinn and tells her that she is listening to her. The girl looks at her mistress with excitement. The protagonist looks at her and notices the glasses. He realizes that in this world it is already possible to make lenses. The elf says that glass, like the vials, is created by Asha, and for this she has 1-star blessing from the god of blacksmithing. He also adds that elves are naturally good at working with glass and have their own secrets in this matter. As payment, they are willing to share this knowledge with him. The main character says that he will be incredibly happy about this. He asks to teach him, because he also wants to make the same glass. The girl confuses me a little, but agrees and promises to show everything. However, she says that even with so much sand under their feet, they have no stove or tools. But Dodashi assures them that everything will be fine now. He has a lot of different materials with him. He takes out a bag and pours everything out on the floor. He asks what exactly you need and promises to do it. Now, he is very happy that Kronos gave him such a bag. Both elves were very surprised. Asya begins to explain everything to him, and they get to work together. Isolina notices that he can create bricks. She asks the other girl how he does it. The girl assumes that the boy also has the blessing of the god of blacksmithing, and thanks to his main gift, this process goes much faster for him. The girl is surprised that he was blessed by several gods at once. She thinks that Asya understands this better than her, so it is probably true. The main character finally completes the creation of the stove. For the future, he should take care of portable options. Asya takes a handful of sand and says that it all depends on the quality of the sand itself, and there are a lot of seashells in sea sand, so they will need more seaweed. Isolane offers to take the seaweed on their ship. The protagonist thanks her and decides to take advantage of this offer. Already on the ship, the main character notices something. He looks in that direction in great surprise. He asks the girls if Undaria is fluffy. Iselina wonders if he is even familiar with such algae. The protagonist replies with a smile that his world also had an ocean. He adds that he doesn't know how much glass is needed here, but he'll leave some for the soup. The girl asks him if he has any seaweed. She says that people who came here before always threw it away and looked at it in surprise. He asks why you can't eat it, and adds that it's actually quite tasty. He also says that not everyone likes seaweed because it tastes very specific. Iselin wonders if this is true, and says that he would really look good at sea, like a real sailor. The girl is a little embarrassed and smiles. The hero thinks again and thinks that this establishment can be considered very Japanese because of the sign with seaweed. The protagonist notices sea cotton and sea rubber seeds. He uses the evaluation skill and wonders how sea cotton differs from regular cotton. The girl tells them that they use sea cotton and rubber for their clothes. She shows it on herself. The guy is devastated by her actions. He says he understands and will have to grow them. Then he asks if she can show him how to do it properly. The girl replies with a smile that she will be happy to show him. She says it could take a year or more to grow. The guy says it's interesting. He invites her to see what he can do. They wade into the water up to their knees. Tadashi throws the seed into the water. Iselin wonders what will happen next, since he just planted it. Suddenly, a small tree appears, and the girl reacts in surprise. She asks aloud. The protagonist nearby mentions that this tree can be used as fertilizer. She says he is smart and that one of his useful things is to fertilize the soil. He suggests she try it and sprinkles fertilizer on the soil. The girl says she can't believe her eyes. She's amazed at how big the tree has grown. The main character thought that there were such giant trees growing right in the middle of the beach. Now he would definitely have enough material for the glass. He turns to Iselina. She answers. He reminds her that she promised to do anything to thank him for his help and food. The girl is a little scared, but replies that if it is in her power, she is ready for anything. What the world needs now is not so much healers or brave warriors as people who can feed everyone. If that's the case, then Tadashi is ready to take on this task, even if it means forgetting his dreams. He says he's just an ordinary farmer and doesn't know anything about this world, so he wants to make a deal. She questions him a little, surprised. He claims that this is so. He also says that as a farmer he needs various plants, seeds, and knowledge. In exchange, he is willing to give them food and as much Elydium grass as they need. He wants to make this island and its inhabitants happier and better. The girl says she understands him, smiles, and looks a little embarrassed. Iselina adds that they are returning to their island tomorrow morning, but she will fulfill his request. The protagonist asks again about tomorrow morning. Suddenly he notices that it is already evening. The girl looks at him confused and wonders what happened. He says that he is very tired today and completely forgot that he needs to make the bed for the night. The guy is very irritated. He also says that he has used up all the materials for the stove and tools. The girl calms him down and tells him not to be upset. Everything is fine. Iselin supports Aaron. Aaron says that everything is fine and starts setting up the tents. When everything is ready, the main character is surprised to notice that the tents were with them the whole time. He thanks the girls. Everyone smiles. The main character sees Kuru running towards him. He praises the animal and says that it did well today, too. He notices that Kuru is covered in sand and calls him to follow him. They head towards the water. Kuru roars happily. Now Kuru has become fluffy and handsome. The main character spies on the girls bathing, but does not understand how to do it himself. Tadashi blushes and says that in the future they definitely need to make a changing room. A smiling girl from the figure skating team approaches him and invites him to spend the night in her tent. He blushes and says that this is not the best idea. He is ashamed to refuse the girl. He says that he would rather stay here and look at the fire. The girl asks what he doesn't like. Iselina and Asya drag him into the tent and say that they can't leave him sleeping outside. Aaron greets them inside. She asks if the gentleman is with them. The protagonist replies, confused, that it's still a bad idea. He looks around and notices that the tent is much more spacious inside than it seems. He agrees and says he's convinced. The girl with the ears is happy and adds that Mr. Tadashi is sleeping with them for you. Tadashi is embarrassed, blushes, and indignantly declares that he will definitely refuse now and go sleep by the fire. Aaron smiles. Suddenly, Korugu appears. The protagonist tells him that the animal convinced him, and they spend the night there. Everyone falls asleep peacefully. The next morning, the main characters emerge from the tent. They are greeted by a smiling Aaron, who asks if they are awake yet. He replies that they are, and notices that she is also awake early. She asks him if he will work, because she thought he would take advantage of the opportunity. The protagonist asks what opportunity he is talking about. She pulls back the curtain of the tent and asks ironically how he is doing. They see Iselin sleeping soundly. Aaron asks him to look at Iselin and reminds him that she would do anything for him. Tadashi asks what's wrong with her and why she's even accepting him. The girl laughs and says that Iselin is not right for him. The guy replies that he actually likes Iselin, but he is not going to use her. The guy changes the subject and asks how the fabric stays on the tent. The girl replies that it's a silly question and says with glue, but how else? How? The protagonist thinks to himself that they also use animal bones to make glue here, just like in his world. Asha greets everyone good morning and asks if Dash wants to know how they make tents. She says that the tent is so flexible because of the sea rubber, and the guides are made of different types of wood. The protagonist replies that he understands everything and adds that elves are very smart. Aaron asks the guy if he really likes it. The guy happily replies that he's been dreaming about it his whole life. He then asks the girl what she likes. She asks again, and at first, she can't even answer. At first, she says she doesn't know, and then, like a true warrior, she decides that she likes to fight. She brags that she once even defeated sharks. The main character looks at her in disbelief. He says he didn't expect such a reaction from her. An elf appears behind him. Tadashi greets Iceland good morning and hands her a glass of water, offering her a drink. The girl admits that she is very embarrassed because she usually almost never appears so sleepy in front of others. The guy thinks to himself, he used to think that she liked ordinary people, but it seems he was wrong. In fact, she is a real princess. Iselina tells Tadashi that they are already returning to their island. She adds that, judging by the strength and direction of the wind, They will arrive tomorrow. Tadashi asks her to hurry up and bring food to her companions. The elf thanks him again. The main character agrees. We agreed, so there's no need to thank him. He explains that he did it because he can't stand to see how others are treated here. The girl looks at him with admiration, blushes awkwardly, and thanks him again. Now he understood what Kronos had said back then. The gods don't give power for nothing. It must be shared and used to help others. Isolina says that while they are away, she will leave him Asya and 2 others and asks him to take care of them. The hero agrees and thanks her. The girl boards the ship and they set off. The main character waves after them and wishes them a safe journey. The main character says that now the girls can introduce themselves and tell about themselves. He wants to give them a job that they will do well. The girls agree. One of them introduces herself as Lola and says she's good at it. The other says her name is Barry and she used to work in the fields. The main character says that he understands and is counting on both of them, as well as Asya. He asks them to change their clothes because women look good in swimsuits, but it's too much for him. He asks if they have any more clothes. Why do all the team leaders wear swimsuits on the beach? Lola says a swimsuit is the most comfortable work outfit for the beach. Tadashi says that they will have new tasks on Earth now, so he will bring them different clothes. It is important that their skin is protected, otherwise it could be dangerous. The girls agree. Asya asks him where to start and adds that they can make glass. The main character thinks. He says that first they will grow a forest. The girls are surprised and ask questions. There is a beautiful sea view around. Barry is surprised that the trees really grow only because they are watered. The main character says that he was not joking. He himself thinks that he will plow the land, and Barry will plant and water the trees. He concludes, even if the girls do everything according to his advice, anyone can grow something so quickly on the land he has prepared. The protagonist mentally notes that all preparations for the forest are complete. The girls turn to him and ask what happened. He stops and says he wants to dig a well here. Barry replies that it's better to leave it to her, since she's the one who dug a well on the island. The protagonist refuses and says he will manage on his own. He believes that what he is looking for is somewhere nearby. The girl is confused. He hits the ground with the tool. The girl exclaims in surprise. The protagonist says that he seems to have guessed and asks her to leave. Suddenly, a powerful jet of water shoots out from where he hit it. Barry exclaims in surprise and loudly. Dashi explains that he smelled fresh water underground, which is why he hid it there. He says he's glad it was resolved so quickly, and he didn't have to dig a hole. The girl agrees, but admits she doesn't quite understand what he's talking about. She asks him to entrust her with digging the well, because it is her job to help him. The guy agrees and says that if he wants, let him work. He has already prepared everything he needs, and the materials are where he shows them. He says that even though it's early, he'll cook them dinner anyway. Asya asks Lola to help him cook. The girl happily agrees. They go to Kuruhar. He is very pleased with himself because he caught a lot. Tadashi praises him and says that he brought a lot of different things. He licks his finger with salt on it and thinks his salt is excellent. Lola asks him what she should do. The protagonist asks to give him some time to think and then tells her to bring the seaweed that Isolane left behind. He will prepare the broth while she soaks the seaweed in a large pot. Lola says with a smile that she understands. The girl walks away quickly. Tadashi smiles and thinks that there is still time before lunch, so he can take his time. Lola loudly tells the hero that the broth is almost ready. The girl looks at him happily. The girl smiles and notices Tadashi's table. She leans over to the main character, who is kneading something, and asks if he's making bread. Tadashi is surprised and says that he's pleasantly surprised by her guess. He's heard that you can make bread and cookies from safflower, so he decides to try it. The girl smiles and says that she has already baked bread, so he can leave it to her. The protagonist also smiles back and agrees, but adds that he really wants to learn how to bake bread. So he suggests that they do it together. Lola happily agrees. She comes to work and starts kneading the dough. She puts a piece on the table and says that the fruit is good for cooking, but it is best to mix it with flour. The main character listens to this with interest and says that then she will have to ask Zelina to bring more fruit. The girl tells him not to worry, because she will do everything herself. She also adds that it is good that they have salt, because it makes the dough denser. The guy agrees and jokes that he is good at pouring salt. Together they put the dough in the oven and say that all that is left for them to do is bake the future bread. When the bread is ready, they take it out. The boy thinks to himself that the bread here looks nothing like the bread he has at home. He breaks off a piece and decides that perhaps that is how it should be. Then it's time for the seafood soup. He takes out the seaweed so it doesn't boil over with the soup. He looks at the dish and says that if he adds what Kururu found, it will be delicious. When dinner is ready, all three girls are delighted with the dish. One of them tries the dish and says it's delicious. Asha is surprised that she didn't know about Tadashi's ability to cook seaweed and adds that she would be happy to try it with them. They begin to suspect that he might also be from the KL family. Lolo smiles and says that he doesn't consider him a stranger either. The protagonist replies that he is very pleased to hear that. The guy asks Kururu if he likes the bread, because it is especially delicious thanks to the shea nuts. Kururu grunts happily, tasting the bread. The main character turns to the three girls and thanks them for their hard work today. He says that he has prepared coffee for them from local fruits and asks them to try it. Asya says that she has never had such a drink and is curious about what coffee is. One of the girls loudly exclaims that it is bitter. Lolo says that he tried very hard to make it for them, but they should probably drink water. She apologizes. The protagonist is surprised and says that then he should probably apologize. He thinks to himself that this coffee is very similar to the one he drank in his world. He cannot understand what he did wrong and where he went wrong. Asha smiles and says that the coffee is delicious. She likes it. The guy says with relief that he is glad to hear that and exhales. The girl asks him not to do it. The protagonist laughs and says that today he will also show her how to make better glass. She admits that she is ashamed because that is all she can do to help. Asya and Tata S are working in the workshop and finally receive a glass bottle. The main character says that the work is ready. He holds his product in his hands. The girl enthusiastically says that it is wonderful, or that it is the best. She also says that he even made a glass blowing device. The main character laughs and says that he just had a good teacher. He mentions the gods and hopes Vulcan and the rest are well. It occurs to him that one day he will have to treat them to seafood. She says that his wood burns perfectly, and thanks to his technology, he will be able to make the highest quality glass. Asya tells Tadashi that if they have more glass, they can make more elixir bottles. Tadashi replies that she understood correctly and asks her to make as many bottles as she can. The hero also asks the girl to make glass dishes. He says that they are more beautiful and stronger than ceramic ones. The girl agrees. The hero realizes that he needs a lot of elixir, which means it's time to expand the fields of elixir grass. In addition, he needs vegetables for food, so he needs to plant another field of vegetables. Tadashi asks Barry for help. He has to do something before sunset. The girl immediately agrees to help. The hero thinks to himself, although there is a lot of work, he likes living like this. He makes his own tools and utensils from what he finds. Tadashi thinks that this is how we wanted to live. Suddenly, Barry asks the boy if he needs to pick cotton and rubber today. Then she says she will follow them. Lola explains to the hero that if he wants to make threads and cloth, he will need a spinning wheel and a loom, and making them is not so easy. But the girl says that she and Asya can work well together and make them. Then Dasha agrees and adds that then he will take up the sewing needles himself. The hero is going to use cotton to make threads and fabrics, because they are much better quality. Tadashi says he doesn't usually think about this, but he wants to make nice clothes for girls so they can save on swimsuits. Suddenly, Barry notices something and turns around. She calls out to Tadashi. The heroes see a ship sailing towards them. Tadashi says it's Iceland and their friends. He's glad they're okay. Suddenly, more ships appear behind one of them. Tadashi is surprised that there are so many of them. The ships have moored to the shore. The elves begin to disembark, unloading their belongings. A girl named Erin runs up to Dasha and screams loudly. The hero asks her not to address him like that, because he has said so many times. The girl sticks out her tongue and says she doesn't know anything. Aisline tells Tadashi that they're already back. She also says that they brought the harvest with them and asks the hero to take a look. Tadashi is very surprised by this. The hero initially thought that Iceland and others would only bring seeds, but eventually he realizes that the finished product is still better. He looks at the food baskets and says that the barley and hops will be needed to make beer. He uses the sugar cane and palm nuts to make sugar and butter. The hero also finds wheat and soybeans among the abundant harvest. He thanks Iceland for these products. The girl says that they tried to grow them on the island, but nothing came of it. They did not want to grow at all. The girl apologizes that their island is not very suitable for some cultures. But the hero interrupts her and assures her that what the elves brought is quite enough. He even praises them. He says that if there were even more cultures, he himself would be at a loss as to what to do with them. In Iceland, they say that almost everyone was sent here to help the hero in the fields. In total, about 150 people came. The girl also mentions that they also brought tools that will help them make fabrics. The hero thanks the elf for the tools he brought. In Iceland, they say that the heroine could not doubt herself, because she was the one who ruled the entire country. Therefore, everything was clearly calculated for her. Tadashi thinks that now he definitely needs to create fields. But suddenly, Isurin turns to Asa and asks if any of them have had any closeness with Tadashi. Hearing this, the main character freezes in shock. Asura blushed and said that none of them had even tried to do something like that. To this, the girl replied that she would not be offended if such a thing happened, because he was really a strong and wonderful man. The desire to get closer to him, in her opinion, was quite natural. Tadashi wonders if the girl knows he hears everything. Then he has a question for Iselin. He asks why there are so many people here. The guy says he doesn't mind, but it's a little confusing. Eyes of Line explains that all these elves will help build the village, but she thinks there aren't enough of them anyway. The hero asks in surprise. To this, the girl replies that the village can only be built with Tadashi's permission. The hero says that he doesn't mind living here, even though he originally came only to stock up on food. He asks the girl if she really wants to build a fishing village here to catch seafood. The girl replies that she doesn't want this because she dreams of building a village here. Iselin adds that she is very grateful to the hero for the forest he created for them. So she asks if it's okay to start cutting down the forest and building a village right now. The hero is a little surprised. He says that the felled tree cannot be used immediately. It must first be dried. Tadashi adds that this will take some time. Then he reprimands the girl, saying that she knows this very well. He tells Deishu that if he tries hard, he can do it in 3 days. He also adds that if he squeezes them hard, the moisture will come out much faster. The girl replied that she didn't expect the boy to do it so quickly, but since he was blessed by the god of agriculture, Kronos himself, she thought he had a way of doing everything at once. In Iceland, they say that when they returned, the woman thought she would have firewood ready for them, so they brought along tools for working with wood. But then the girl opened her eyes and realized everyone has their own limit. The hero does not understand what she is talking about, calls her, and Iceland turns around and says that she wants to create a kingdom under the leadership of Tadashi. The girl says that she wants Dashi to become king and rule these lands wisely. The hero does not understand what is happening. He asks the girl if she is exaggerating his merits. The girl admits that she is, because she has the blessing of Kronos, and not only from him. Isurin says that perhaps Tadashi is right, but this place is considered a prison, although he managed to make the land fertile here. The hero replies that this was also a real gift of fate, and he is not at all as big as the girl thinks he is. Tadashi asks the girl if they have a place where they can live freely. He doesn't understand why I'm giving up, and suggests creating a new kingdom. The girl asks the hero about freedom. She says he is right, but she does not know what lies beyond this place. The girl calls a certain Lisa, and the main character looks at her with disbelief. Suddenly, an elf girl appears without a right arm. Tadashi asks what happened to her. Isarun explains that Lisa is a warrior who has long served her family. She says that the girl's parents were eaten by monsters from the demon lord's army, and she herself lost her right arm when she tried to escape. Ikrin gives Lisa an elixir. The girl obediently drinks it. The hero watches all this in amazement. He notices that the girl's hand has begun to regenerate. The hero recalls that he had heard about this elixir as the best medicine in the world, but he never imagined that it could restore a lost limb. After healing, the girl thanks Dasha, saying that now, thanks to him, she can again serve Aiselin faithfully. Exiled says she wants the hero to understand the whole situation. She explains that even though she cares for her people and has every blessing possible, there is still no medicine or food on the island. The girl says that she cannot rule and protect the island alone. That is why she has given up the title of queen. Tadashi looks sadly at Exiled. The girl says that she can only make an elixir, but not heal people. The hero asks if he will give the elves the ingredients for the elixir and food. Will the girl become queen again? Exiled refuses. She says that her elixir is only so effective because it is made from an herb that Tadashi grew, which is what allows him to regenerate lost body parts. She says that not only Lisa is alive here, but everyone else is too, only because the heroes brought them Alicia's herb. The girl gives Tadashi her crown. She tells him that the first king of the elves, Evolus, was once a tree. Over time, his body changed. This crown is proof that he existed, and also a symbol of royal power. It is passed down from generation to generation. Exiled says that she and all the elves want Tadashi to become their king. The hero refuses, explaining that he cannot accept such an important role. The girl says that the hero should not worry, because there are people on the island who will never want to leave him. She wants the hero to become a hope for those who still decided to leave the island. She herself did not succeed in this. The hero asks Exiled if she really believes he can do it. The girl replies that she does. She tells him that the rulers of each state here are called apostles of God, and adds that Tadashi is the best of them. The hero thinks to himself that the blessing is a sign of strength. Exiled adds that none of those who call themselves kings are capable of anything, and neither is she. Barren looks at Exiled with sadness and incomprehension. The girl shouts that Tadashi is not like everyone else. He has a kind heart and is much stronger than the others. She is sure. He should become a king who can protect people like them. The hero looks at the girl sadly. He agrees, but asks if he must always wear the crown. The girl is very happy with the guy's answer. Exiled addresses his people, announcing that he is abdicating the throne and handing over power to Tadashi. The girl puts a crown on the hero and orders everyone to congratulate the new king. Everyone is happy, because a new ruler has appeared. Tadashi is worried in his mind, because he does not know what to do next and how to rule his people. The young man says that his grandfather on his mother's side gave him the name Dasha. He says that his grandfather believed in him very much and hoped that the boy would be able to make the world a better place, which is why he chose that name for him. Tadashi always thought his grandfather was exaggerating because he himself couldn't succeed in his past life. But it seems that in this world it's still worth trying. The hero takes the crown off his head and says he doesn't need it anymore. The girl takes the crown and asks where the hero is going now. Tadashi replies that he needs to plow a new field. Also, there are more people, so more grass is needed. The young man points out that even if he becomes king, he still has to do things that only he can do. The hero says that the girl knows that a king should always take care of his subjects. The girl is satisfied with Tadashi's answer. The hero thinks that when you build a village from scratch, it is important to place the fields correctly and make sure that the harvest is as good as possible. Dashi addresses his people and says that now that Exiled is no longer queen, the elves should report all their needs to him. The elves agree. Everyone happily gets to work. Tadashi confesses to Exiled that he didn't think she expected so much from him. The girl doesn't understand what the hero is talking about. The young man says it's a small thing and asks her to forget about it. Then Ayla and Drouse draw the hero's attention to the new house. The hero is surprised by how big this new building is. He examines the structure carefully, praises the glass window, and notes how quickly the elves built this structure. Exiled says he doesn't think the construction will continue this quickly. But for Tadashi, the house was built very quickly because he is the king of the elves. The girl tells the young man that he should thank the carpenters who built this house. The hero looks at the workers in confusion. He believes that among those who have already left the island, there are more women than men. Here, Dashi gathers his thoughts. He looks at the workers. They are beaming with joy. Master Carpenter Spike says that it is too early to thank them, and suggests that we first look at the house from the inside. He pushes the boy inside. Tadashi is shocked. Spike is glad that the new king likes everything in the house. Tadashi thinks the boards are very skillfully made, and the nails are hammered in so that they are almost invisible. The hero asks the craftsman what materials are missing. He replies that there is not enough iron, so they have to economize. The hero says that as soon as he is done with the fields, he will immediately take up the iron. He notes that the magic iron is much better than ordinary iron. Spike is very grateful to the new king and says that she relies on him. Tadashi realizes that the iron supply is running out, so he needs to invent something new. Here, his gaze falls on the luxurious bed in the room. The hero doesn't understand why the bed is so big. Exiled explains that the size and softness of the bed is a sign of royalty, but the hero says he meant something completely different. Tadashi asks if the bed is too big for one person. Exiled reminds him that everyone has forgotten that. The hero sleeps alone. Tadashi doesn't understand how anyone could forget something like that. He's uncomfortable because everyone else is sleeping so soundly. Exiled asks who she can choose as a hero. Tadashi doesn't understand what the girl is talking about. She says that it seems like the hero didn't like Asha and the others, so she assumes that Tadashi likes slim girls more. The hero suddenly senses something is wrong and asks Exiled to slow down. The girl doesn't understand what the problem is and decides that the hero probably wants to invite some girls to his place. Tadashi refuses, asking what nonsense the girl is talking about. Exiled replies that it is not nonsense at all, and she does not understand at all what has the hero so angry. The girl says that now that the hero has become king, he needs concubines. Tadashi dreams thoughtfully, but then he suddenly realizes what Aishrin is leading him to. Aaron comes in and says that the hero was never able to dissuade the former queen from this idea. She says that Aishline never wastes time. The hero asks her to explain to him what is going on here. Aishline replies that Tadashi should not worry about anything. She says that elves and beastmen greatly value their connection with kings, especially since they have almost no men now. The hero is indignant and assures that such creatures do not exist at all. The girl says that thanks to the hero, her people no longer have problems with housing and food, so she has thought about continuing the family. The hero asks if they hate humans. Exiled replies that Tadashi is not like the others. She also says that elves usually have dominant blood, so in a human-elf couple, an elf is most likely to be born. She calms the hero and asks him not to worry. The hero thinks to himself that he imagined elves to be completely different. Exiled says that even if a child is born, she is sure that the baby will live happily in such a family. She adds that they need to rebuild their family because they lost so many loved ones in the war. Exiled is sure that she is the best match for Tadashi. She advises him to first make peace with Aaron, the leader of the Beastmen, and then suggests Lisa. But the hero replies that he does not know Lisa at all and does not intend to get close to her. Exiled is surprised. She says that Tadashi is not like other people. The elves have heard that men always need a girlfriend. The hero replies that this is true, but in his opinion, the main thing is not to forget about feelings. Exiled says that elves have their own breeding season. Also, elves and humans have very similar body structures, so this shouldn't be a problem. She explains that if Tadashi wants to have children, he should mate with an elf during her cycle. The hero is outraged by Exiled behavior. He says that Lisa is a member of the royal guard, so she can sleep in the same bed with him, but he will not do anything with her at night. Exiled is interested. What about Aaron? Aaron asks if she can join the queue too. Then she adds that she thinks Exiled is the best fit for the role. The girl replies confusedly that she doesn't think Dasha likes her. Aaron explains that Isarin is so confused because they didn't work out last time. She advises the former elf queen to be more confident in herself. Then the hero realizes that this was the last time. He didn't think it was done on purpose. Then Tadashi came to his senses and started yelling at Aaron not to call him master. The girl asks the hero if he can be called king, but thinks it won't change anything in Tadashi's behavior. The guy agrees and asks why Aaron can't just call him by his first name, like Exiled does. The girl replies that Exiled is an exception. If she addresses the hero simply by his name, it could affect his reputation. The hero doesn't understand. Aaron is also a ruler, but she doesn't call him by name, but addresses him as Lord. Aaron replies that the Bismen live in packs and have a clear hierarchy. Besides, she feels calmer when there is someone stronger than her around. She says she is blessed by the gods but her power in no way saves people from dying in war. Aaron says she is very tired and feels the same way Exiled did when she decided to give up the throne. Aaron says that when she first met the hero, she thought he would be easy to deal with and that it would make her feel better. She says those were her initial thoughts. Suddenly, the girl comes to her senses, apologizes to the main character, says she was just distracted, and asks to ignore her. Tadashi can't believe that the same thing happened to Aaron as to Isolana. He thinks that the girl is still so young, and she has already been through so many trials. The heroine tells Aaron that she doesn't need to apologize. He assures the girl that she can always count on him. Aaron is very happy. Tadashi adds that he will do his best. Tears appear in the girl's eyes. She hugs the hero around the neck with gratitude. The hero cannot believe that Aaron also wants to protect someone. Aaron exclaims to Isolane that she is lucky. She replies that today the hero will most likely choose her. He shouts at Dasha that he did not mean to say anything like that. Aaron says that the hero just needs to be patient. Tadashi gets a little annoyed. At the same time, he thinks that the most important thing is that Aaron felt better after his words. A new day dawns. The action moves to the hero's room. He and Lisa leave it. Suddenly, Aaron pops out from around the corner, happily greets him, and hands him a cup of morning drink. Tadashi jokes that there is a very interesting sleeping position in Iceland. The hero decides to give the girl a place on the bed. Aaron says that if she weren't so brave, he would have done the same. The hero says that it was Aaron who acted behind Lisa's back, and the girl replies that she's used to it. Tadashi mentally notes that he was confident in his endurance, but Iceland was able to knock him out of the race. After a while, Iceland herself wakes up. The hero awkwardly turns away from the girl and says that today we should try again. The girl does not understand what is the matter. The heroes go to the fields. Tadashi says that yesterday they finished harvesting wheat for the main bread. Next in line are sugarcane, barley, and hops. Ailman says she understands why the cane is needed, but she can't imagine why there's so much barley and hops. Tadashi explains that they're going to brew beer. Isolane asks again. When Dasha wonders if the girl really doesn't know anything about beer, she replies that on their island they brewed barley wine without hops. They used hops as a medicinal plant. According to the girl, the hero understood that hops were not used in the first barley wines. The hero explains that such wine is not at all like water, and it does not spoil, which is why it was taken on trips. Tadashi wonders if the taste of this drink has changed. The hero thinks he will make a drink of barley wine in honor of the gods who have been so kind to him. He wants this drink to be as delicious as possible. Tadashi asks Islin if there are any brewing experts here. The girl replies that there is a person with the same blessing as the hero. Tadashi asks to introduce him to this person. This person turned out to be a girl named Merle. She works as a cook. She listens attentively to the hero, says that she understands everything, and promises to fulfill it. Tadashi thanks her. The hero says he has already made the barrels, so Merle can use them. Tadashi goes to the blacksmith himself. The girl asks you to trust her. The hero approaches the blacksmith. He enters his tent and asks Asya if she has made the nails yet. The girl replies that she has, and also says that she has fixed the tools. The hero thought for a moment, and the girl said, "If the tools work too fast, they will break." Tadashi believes that constantly remelting iron is a waste of time and resources. He would like to restore it with magic steel, but there is almost no more left. The hero summons Karura. When the creature appears, Tadashi says that he needs his legs. Karura is very happy to be summoned, and without hesitation gives the hero what he asks for. Tadashi thinks Kuru is leading them to the forest where the steel is. The hero tells the creature that it needs to get water and asks it to move along the river. The hero flies along the river and collects water, but along with it he also catches a fish called the devil's salmon. The action moves to the northern forest. Here, the hero begins to chop down trees. His goal is to reach the nearest mountain. He tells Carrera that they need to move on to her, and finally she appears. Then he swings with all his might, shouts, "Dig!" and hits the mountain. The impact sends many stones flying. The hero thinks the harvest is good, but notes that this bag is not real. He turns to Quirur and says that everything is done, it is time to go back. They return to the village. Asya is very happy to see them. The hero says that he has brought even more provisions and fuel. He pours everything he has brought right in front of the girl, and she is pleasantly surprised. She asks what's going on, and Tadashi says he thought they were done. Asha says the hero brought too much. Asiya says that she can't handle so much material in the forge by herself. She asks for more help and asks Tadashi to solve this issue. The guy is not surprised at all. Tadashi works in the forge. He thought that everything was ready and he could now get to work like a carpenter. The hero brings the tool to the spike. She is very pleased with it and calls it wonderful. The spike easily handles the new tool. Tadashi explains that this tool is called a plane. The hero says that it works very well. Spike says that the screws the hero brought are better than nails. This makes everything even more effective. The Beastman calls on everyone to work for the king. Everyone agrees. Tadashi believes they can create things with the power of the turn. He begins to think about what to do next. Suddenly, Asiya turns to Tadashi. The hero looks back at her call. The girl says that she is bored of just resting. The hero does not understand what she is talking about. Asiya asks him to look back. The girl shows that Iceland, who is in charge of the entire project, is completely exhausted. Tadashi finally understands what Asia is talking about. The hero reflects that his business courage, which he cultivated in a past life, has not actually brought any good to his subordinates. Asha asks the hero to let her take a break. He agrees. The hero sits calmly and savors his drink. Suddenly, Kururu swims up to him. He has a shrimp in his teeth. Tadashi suggests frying it. The hero begins to light a fire but suddenly notices a plant, thinks about it, and an idea comes to him. Asha looks like a real hero. She wonders what Tadashi has made again. The hero replies that it is liquid soap. He mixed coconut oil, dried seaweed, and a little salt, and now he will leave this mixture to mature. The girl likes the soap the hero made. She really likes its smell. Tadashi jokes that when there is soap, she immediately wants to go take a bath. The action moves to a large bathtub. The hero thinks that although there was a lot of work, it turned out to be easier than he expected. Suddenly, the hero hears a noise behind him and turns around. Aaron runs up to him. She is surprised to see a bathtub. The hero suggests the girl try it out. The girl presses the lever, and the water starts flowing. Tadashi shows the Beastman ruler how the shower works. Ira really likes it. She enjoys standing under the jets of water. The girl is curious about how this device works. The hero explains that he poured a lot of hot water into a large container and placed it high. Due to the difference in heights, the hot water flows by itself. Tadashi believes that the main thing is to know exactly what you want, and then almost anything will become possible. The hero says, "That's it for today." He suggests relaxing in the bath. Since everyone is already in their swimsuits, Tadashi says they can come in right now. Aaron can't wait and goes to call the others. The hero gets into the water and relaxes. He thinks that everything here is made of cypress, which is why it smells so nice. He remembers that he hasn't bathed in a long time, and this bath will help him feel alive. Suddenly, he hears some sounds and turns his head. He freezes in surprise. A group of girls without swimsuits enter the shower room. Tadashi asks where their bathrooms are. Aaron replies that she's better off without him. Easley says lightly that she thought it was a good opportunity to get to know each other better. She adds that the hero himself said so. Tadashi explains that he actually meant something completely different. Aaron takes off the hero's underwear, and he starts screaming in shame. Dasha then asks Aaron to stop because she doesn't like it. But the girl says that she's already tired of it. It's boring. Then Aaron takes the towel off Iselane. The hero says that the girl has already gone too far, and if she continues like this, she will soon run out of food. As soon as Aaron heard these words, he immediately apologized. Tadashi advised her to go and wash up. Suddenly, a girl walks by the hero. It turned out to be Lisa. She apologizes to the hero for bothering him. Then she asks him not to be angry with Aaron. Lisa says that the hero was in tension all this time. Tadashi says he's not angry with her because she's still a child. The hero understands that Lisa had a hard time. The people of the principality, as well as the elven slaves and beastmen. He hopes they weren't rude or mocking them. Lisa says everything was fine, and the commander there was a woman. Tadashi is surprised that the commander of the national army was a woman. He thought it was some kind of border principality. Lisa says that at first they weren't really interested in the islands themselves. They only captured them as a springboard to attack the demon kingdom from the other side. She says they had their own troops, so they defended themselves desperately, but the female enemy commander was just a terrible person. The girl says that although the commander was of noble lineage, she still went to the front line and killed several soldiers with one blow. Lisa says that's when she lost her hand. Dashi thinks the story is very interesting and is sure that Lisa has her defenders. But he definitely doesn't want to contradict them if he can avoid it. Lisa said that the principality also needed food for the army, so she readily agreed to become the principality's treasury and supply food in exchange for a guarantee of safety for her people. Tadashi believes that perhaps the Duke wanted to disarm the elven army, tax them heavily, and enslave them. In his opinion, this is a very disgusting way. Lisa asks if she can ask the hero a question. Tadashi says yes. The girl moves closer to the hero's ear. She asks how the hero can stand a girl around him. The hero looks at her in embarrassment, and she immediately apologizes, thinking that her words might have offended him. Lisa says she wonders how this guy managed to stay in the same living room with Lady Iseline, and there's nothing to say about someone like Lisa. Tadashi adds that this girl is also nice and pretty. Lisa thanks Dasha for the compliment and says that it's the first time she's heard something like that from a man, and she's very pleased. The hero gives her a shy look, feeling a little embarrassed. And then Tadashi gets an idea. He tells Lisa that they need to set boundaries, that is, draw a line. The girl looks at him in surprise, not understanding what he is talking about. The protagonist says that when the beer is ready, he wants to hold a feast and make offerings to the gods. He also suggests organizing a Shinto wedding. The girl thinks about the wedding ceremony, and especially the Hatsuhan ceremony. The hero asks if it is really an elven tradition. Lisa says that girls give flowers to the guy they like during the spring festival when they reach a certain age. If the guy accepts the flowers, it means they become a couple. Lisa says that while they were under occupation, they had limited freedom, and that's why they later fought for the right to life. The hero says that from his conversation with Lisa, he understood that it is customary for a woman to be proposed to. Tadashi believes that it is precisely because of this tradition that Icelandic women are so proactive. Lisa asks what kind of wedding ceremony the hero would like. Tadashi replies that he wants her to wear a wedding dress, a fancy outfit, and exchange wedding rings. Lisa says it will be a very lavish celebration. Doji actually thinks so. He figures that if he and Iceland are going to get married, they'll need wedding dresses, rings, and cake ingredients. The hero thought about it seriously. Suddenly, he and Lisa hear someone's voice behind them and turn around. It was Erin. She asks if Lisa is talking to the king alone. The girl replies that Tadashi will marry everyone at once. Hearing this, all the girls looked at the main character. Tadashi said that he didn't promise to marry everyone. Then he realizes that it is unlikely that anyone will listen to him now. He feels that the commotion will soon begin again. The next day, the hero decides for himself that his new task is to prepare for the wedding ceremony. Tadashi has already instructed the men to make the alcohol and entrusted the bride's dress to the seamstress, Loli. The hero understands that now he needs to take care of the wedding rings and the wedding cake, but he still doesn't know what to make the cake from or where to find the precious stones for the rings. Suddenly, Asia calls him. She shouts that there is trouble. The hero suggests the girl take a break. Azur replies that now is not the time to rest. The girl asks the hero to look at what happened. The hero says that they are diamonds, rubies, and even sapphires. The girl replies that they were mixed with the magical minerals that the hero had. Tadashi remembers bringing the material to the blacksmith. He was sure that magical minerals wouldn't mix with anything, but it seems he was wrong. Tadashi says it's a good thing that at least Asha found them, because he was already starting to worry about the rings. Then the girl turns to the hero and asks if he can trust her to make these rings. Tadashi immediately agrees and says he trusts her with the job. Asha thanks him for his trust and assures him that she will do everything with the pride of a true master. Tadashi thinks the ring problem is solved, and now he can move on to the cake. He muses that they don't have any milk or eggs and wonders where he can find the necessary livestock. The hero stands confused. Suddenly, Kurururu flies up to him from behind. Tadashi asks what Tom wants. The creature puts the hero on its back and carries him somewhere. Tadashi asks the animal where it is taking him. They are already approaching the forest. The hero asks Kurururu if it is dangerous to go so far into the forest. But suddenly the animal stops. Tadashi says that they have gone too far into the forest. Then Kururu starts growling. The hero does not understand what is happening, but it seems to him that there is someone in that direction. Fear appears on his face. He sees a whole bunch of cows and roosters in front of him. Tadashi gets on the carriage and calls out to the animals. He offers to feed them. The monster ignores Dishi's suggestion. At this moment, Kuroro intervenes. He starts barking furiously at everyone. The animals look at him in fear. Tadashi believes that these wild animals are like babies and need to be tamed. The hero once again offers them his help. He says that he will show them a place where water and food are tastier, and in return they will give him eggs and milk. Kuru growls at the animals again, and they get scared. But now they obediently obey and are ready to follow Dasha. The hero, sitting on Kurururu and leading the animals behind him, says that if you try, you can tame them easily. Kurururu growls quite a bit in agreement. The hero returns to the village. He believes that agriculture is a human endeavor, and cattle breeding is also a part of agriculture. Suddenly, Eren and Iselin approach the hero. Iselin says that she heard about the ceremony of the first flower, so she prepared the seeds. But suddenly something surprises her very much, and she asks what it is. The hero thanks everyone for the seeds, then says that the cowshed and chicken coop are just right for them. He advises them to plant the flowers as soon as possible. Eren tells Iselin that these chickens and cows look like they could be used for a lot of meat. Iselin replies that they are devil chickens and devil cows, and such animals do exist. Eren wonders if demon cows and chickens can be tamed. Iceland replies that it is impossible. Neither humans nor magical creatures can be tamed. Eren turns her attention to the painting in front of her. Tadashi pats the demon chicken on the head and tells it's time to lay delicious eggs for them. The chicken looks at him with teary eyes. Eren says that the demonic beast is crying. Tadashi also realizes that in the past, such demonic monsters from legends were protected by Fenrir. Iselin explains that this was a protection because they were subdued, not tamed. Eren ponders, then asks if being able to control demonic beasts is also considered a combat skill. Iselin doesn't understand what he's talking about. Eren explains that they have over 30 fearsome demonic creatures. So if the prince's army suddenly arrives, these animals could come in handy. Finally, Iselin understands what the ruler of the beastmen means and says that they need to be on their guard. Suddenly, the hero calls Eren and Iceland and asks them to get eggs and milk. He says there are a lot of them here and everything looks delicious. The girls stand there surprised. Tadashi says that if they try to tame the demonic beasts, it will be much easier for them in the future. The girls realize that these beasts are completely uncontrollable. Then Lola and Asha come and call Tadashi. Lola says that she made an outfit for the wedding ceremony. The girl says that the wedding dress came out very beautiful. Tadashi says he never doubted that she would be able to handle it. Then Asiya turns to him and says that she got a sapphire for her engagement ring. The hero likes the ring and is glad that he trusted her. The girls are happy. Lola says that mass production needs to be launched as soon as possible. Asya adds that she still needs to make the rings in the right size. The hero stops them and says that they need to do a bread tasting first. The girls are surprised. Maru explains that she wanted to test the baking, so she decided to try it on bread. She brings freshly baked bread. In general, everything looks very appetizing. Then the hero switches attention to himself and says that this is not all. He shows the first batch of alcohol. Loa says she mistook it for unfiltered ale. To her, it's cold and very tasty. Tadashi says light beer is best drunk chilled. It becomes cool thanks to the magical power of life. Asya says that this alcohol is very strong. And Tadashi believes that finally the heavenly protection and magic of this world are turning into something real. The girls drink beer with bread. The hero says that simple magic can cool or heat food, but the magic of life makes cooking extremely easy. Then the hero thinks, since the oven is working, we can bake a cake, and also prepare fresh cream and butter. Here, Maru turns to Tadashi. She says that the hero is kind to everyone without exception. But can a person like her even get married? The hero is in complete shock because he doesn't remember anyone saying that. Tadashi asks the girl if she wants to marry him, but Maru replies that she meant something completely different. She confesses that she has a child and asks the hero if he is okay with it. Tadashi falls into a stupor. He's a half-human who became a father at 28. Her husband, Cornell, died earlier during the war with the principality. The girl says that she heard how the hero does not approve of her, but she is still proud of her husband. Then Dasha reminds her that it is worth remembering this brave man-beast. He adds that he heard that at the decisive moment he showed himself to be truly heroic. Suddenly, a little girl runs into the room. The hero asks if this is really Maru's daughter. The girl nods and says her name is Petya. She hugs her mother. The hero thinks about the fact that Maru's husband died in the war. The mother and her small child are left alone. The hero says that the girl will soon get married again, although her husband was very handsome. The girl replies that if she becomes the wife of the man who saved the island, her husband will be happy. She says that she will have to raise her daughter and have more children. The hero takes a glass that is on the table. Tadashi drinks the whole glass in one gulp. Then he says that he understands. They need to get married. The main character returns to Petita and tells her that now she can call him Dad. The girl agrees to the hero's proposal, and Maru thanks him for allowing his daughter to call him her father. The hero adds that after the ceremony, the girl will be able to call him by his first name. The girl agrees to this. Tadashi thinks that's exactly what should have been done. There's very little time left until the wedding day. Tadashi says that all the preparations have already been made. 100 villagers could easily fit into the small town. Tadashi says they have a very extensive menu. There's wild vegetable salad, freshly baked bread, spicy seafood soup, tender sirloin steak, and peach wedding cake. Suddenly, Isolan calls out to the hero. He turns and sees a crowd of girls in wedding dresses behind him. They say they are ready. Tadashi looks at them in surprise and embarrassment. The hero thinks to himself that he didn't find out yesterday how many people would come, and he didn't expect to marry all 7 of them at once. Isurin asks the hero if everything is okay, but Tadashi denies it. He thinks to himself that marrying everyone at once is probably not entirely right. However, he decides to accept it, because that is the custom here on the island. Barry says that Tadashi is generally very generous. She adds that if the hero becomes even closer friends with someone, he will still marry her, no matter who. Tadashi looks at her in surprise. He says that this is not true at all. The hero asks not to discuss who he might marry. The girls reply that such rumors have already spread among people. And the hero thinks they've come this far by helping each other. But even if it was necessary, he's still glad. Isolane suggests exchanging vows. The hero agrees, but first wants to seek blessings from the gods and then start celebrating. Suddenly, a bright light appears from somewhere. The gods appear before the heroes. Kronos is the god of agriculture. He greets the hero and says that he looks and is in excellent health. Vulcan, the god of blacksmithing, offers him a drink. The girls look at the gods in surprise, and Tadashi agrees with Vulcan and says that thanks to them he has made more acquaintances. Vulcan says he's been waiting for this day for a long time, and he likes everything. The gods taste the alcohol that Tadashi has prepared. Vulcan tries it first and says the drink is wonderful. Perono says that the barking and behavior are terrible, and Vulcan replies that the drunkenness is low. Suddenly their eyes meet, and they call out for the hero. She asks who these two are. Tadashi replies that they are deities. He says that he placed an offering on the altar, so the deities came to taste it. The girl screams that this is completely abnormal. The hero realizes that there has been some confusion again. The girls are surprised to see that the gods have indeed come. The hero understands that for others this is a rare event. The gods do not often come to Earth, so he explains, if they bring offerings, the gods may come themselves to taste them. The girls look at Tadashi in surprise. The hero realizes that they have not understood much. Suddenly, Kronos turns his gaze to the newly arrived gods. He turns to Mia and Helka Barretts and says that it is unacceptable to come in with such an expression on his face, because Tadashi worked really hard to prepare the dish. The goddess of wisdom, Mia, says that at least Kronos had a choice to come or not. The god of heroism, Helkabar, adds that they have a rule, not to support specific rebirths. Jaren says that the god of heroism is stubborn again. He asks if it is because of the armor that he is so cruel. Helkabar's is indignant. So what? Two gods are arguing. Tadashi intervenes and tries to reconcile them. The hero says that the gods work hard, so they should get some rest. The god of heroism tries the first dish. He really likes the exquisite taste. Tadashi tells him that it is a seaweed and seafood soup. Kronos says Tadashi's dishes often receive 7 stars from the patron saint of agriculture. Mia looks at the oxtail soup and says that in our time, such wonderful dishes from believers are very impressive. After that, Kronos calls the goddess of healing. He tells her that they have already done a lot for her, so now she must come and try this. The goddess of healing, Alicia, says she didn't do anything. Tadashi turns to her and says that they are truly grateful to her for giving them the healing herb. The goddess says that the hero did all this himself, but since he insists, she agrees. Tadashi wonders why the goddess suddenly started eating meat. He was surprised to see Alicia eating meat. Suddenly, Ashlyn turns to the goddess of healing and says that she always takes care of them. Alicia is surprised. Iselin asks if the goddess is worried about something. She denies it and says that Iselin believes in her herself. She asks the elf to focus on this. Isolin is very happy to hear such words from the goddess of healing. Kronos asks Tadashi if he is called the monster god Oda. The hero repeats the question. Kronos replies that this deity also protects magical beasts. Tadashi says that Kuru came to bring Mr. Oda. He says he completely forgot about it. He hits the dragon figurine, and a monster named God Odd appears in front of him. Tadashi asks Kronos what this God Odd eats. Kronos replies that it eats everything in a row. You just need to give it more. The hero gives his share to the Ode. The Ode tries it carefully at first and then eats it all to the last crumb. The hero is surprised by such an appetite. Tadashi asks Mara if she asked for more. The girl nods yes. Vulcan tells the hero that the booze is gone and asks for another whole barrel. The hero replies that everything will be fine now. The gods are having fun and eating delicious food. Tadashi suggests that Kronos hold a wedding ceremony while everyone is together. The god replies that he is just happy. The hero says that it is important to make sure that Mr. Kronos and everyone they care about are married. Cronus says that he is the god of fertility, promising a bountiful harvest and many descendants. He assures that he can be trusted to be the best man at the wedding because he is the best suited for it. Kronos begins the ceremony. Tadashi is mentally glad that at least Mr. Kronos is sober today. The wedding ceremony begins. The main character says that there is a tradition on the island, the ceremony of the first flower. But for the locals, this is the first wedding they have seen in their lives. Tadashi tells Kronso that they will now say their vows, exchange wedding rings and lilies. Prono says that polygamy is common in their world, but he has never seen a wedding ceremony like this. He says that everything looks very similar to Tadashi. Tadashi is surprised by the thought. Pronoz suggests that the hero say the words of the oath in the temple, and the hero agrees. Suddenly, someone calls out to him. It was his 7 fiancées who asked him to accept flowers from them. The hero feels a little embarrassed and asks to approach one by one. He puts the wedding ring on each girl in turn. They are all delighted. Kronos says that this is a truly happy marriage. He wishes future descendants prosperity. The hero thanks him for this. Kronos scolds the other gods for not preparing any wedding gifts for Tadashi and the others. Vulcan doesn't understand what kind of gift they were supposed to prepare. Pronto says that it could be a new star that will become a celestial patron, for example. Mia thinks that the god of agriculture is talking nonsense. Chrono accuses her of being stingy, but she replies that if she gives Tadashi a gift, it will disrupt the order of the earthly world. Alicia supports Chrono. She offers to give the bride and groom heroes 1 star each. Iceland, upon hearing this, is simply overjoyed with happiness. Mia says she is against such gifts. Kronos replies that she is the only one who has not tried these offerings yet. Mia turns to Tadashi. She says that she has ordered the best and most intelligent merchants from her believers to be brought here. The hero thanks her for such a gift. He thinks to himself that merchants from the borderlands will indeed come. Eren appears here. Tadashi asks her if she received a gift. She replies that yes, she received it from the hero deity Mr. Helka Barris. The protagonist says that she will not marry Eren. She replies that his desires have become indecent. He refuses in every way. The girl says she was joking and that it's too early to look at the hero in that sense. But she adds that she'll think about it later, whether she wants to or not. Dasha mentally notes that he hasn't said anything about this yet, and also that having 7 wives won't be easy. Suddenly he hears congratulations. Iceland says she is happy to marry him. All the other girls say they are happy too. The hero replies that he is as happy as they are. He believes that he had never even thought about marriage before. The hero wondered what would happen if he were left alone forever. But in this world, not like his, he is not alone. The girl whispers, "Isn't it amazing that a king can summon gods to earth?" Others think it's nothing special, because their views are the same, and others have also been chosen by the gods, so it's just a legend. Dashi is called the most important king, recognized even by the gods. The girls say that he is also a great cook, so the god's arrival is completely justified. Tashi thinks that soon this village will no longer belong to anyone, but will become sacred. He believes that instead of uncertainty, it is better to cultivate this land. Thus began the legend of Tadashi, the king of food. The wedding lasted all night without a break. Islan suggested that the girls line up in order of increasing breast size. Lisa asks the girl if it's normal that her breasts are small. She wonders if there are any competitors here because of this. Lisa replies that everyone likes different things. For example, Tadashi doesn't like it. The hero thinks the girls are arguing about order and can't agree. Then he says that everyone is tired from the day and it's time to go to bed. The girls flatly refuse to go to bed. Suddenly, Maru turns to Tadashi with a question. She wonders if the hero has had any experience. The hero, confused, asks what exactly she is talking about. The girl says that no one else has the experience, so there could be problems. The hero feels how her words have a strong effect on him. Daishi then advises Mari to tell everyone about it, and the girl agrees that it's a good idea. She adds that she needs a partner for visual learning. The hero looks at her in surprise, then asks again. Tadashi says it's very unfortunate. He believes that even if another girl appears, there won't be anyone like her again. Maru says she can provide a ship. She adds that the girl is also a half-beast and about the same age as the hero. The hero suspects that Maru wants to get to know them better. Spike says he can take it all on himself. She says the hero might think she won't be around. The hero thinks it's a compromise. He says he agrees. Maru asks him not to try too hard and to rely on her. Spike says he's glad to meet him. The next morning, the hero turns to Maru and asks what her plan is. The girl asks permission to say something. Tadashi allows her. She says that everything is fine, even too fine. Maru adds that the test was successful, but now Tadashi is in danger. The hero does not understand what is being said. Maru shouts that the hero must remember that he is risking his life. She says that if he relaxes even a little, his partner could kill him. Tadashi believes that this is all because the god of agriculture gifted her with the power of the 7 stars. He understands that now he must somehow move on to the royal garden. Migrants from the Kanbar archipelago have arrived en masse in the village of the descendants of the gods. The population of the Tadashi kingdom is growing rapidly. The Frontrunner district has also learned of this rapid wave of prosperity. The events are transferred to the capital of the county of Frontrunner Century. This county was founded by 100 soldiers and 1 brave man, and over time it grew into an entire state with a powerful army. The only daughter of the ruler of Frontrunner County is Matilda von Frontrunner. The girl sits at a table, various papers lying around her. She is already tired of reading reports, but she has to do it, because her father entrusted this task to her. The girl sits and looks thoughtfully into the distance. Suddenly a man named Eugene von Fontaine enters the room. He turns to the girl, and she looks up at him. He says he has come with a report of alarming activity in the Kanbar archipelago. The girl asks if this area is important for the offensive and what is going on there. Wahen says that according to their stories, they cannot provide even half of the inhabitants of the archipelago with everything they need. He says that because of the high taxes, everyone can escape from there, We need to solve this problem quickly. Matilda says to leave them alone. The man wants to object, but the girl asks to call the commander-in-chief to her. Eugene adds that disrespect is not for anyone like him. OJN reminds again that there are still people left in the country, and the commander-in-chief should think things over carefully. To this, the girl replies that the counterattack plan is almost ready. She also says that there is no need to check what is happening on the island. Oginobase, Matida apologizes to him and says she was too hot-tempered. Then she looks out the window at the city. The girl believes that the most important thing now is to defeat the Magic King. A pleasant breeze blows towards her. Matilda understands. If she does not seize this chance and attack now, the country may be lost. The girl believes that they will attack and win. For her, this is the only way. She sees no other options. The action moves to the Divine Village, to the fields. Tadashi works in the fields and thinks about the fact that there are already over 5,000 immigrants from the island, and their number is growing every day. He thinks they have a lot of land, but no matter how many new fields they capture, it's still not enough. Suddenly, the hero hears someone's voice. It was Isolin, who was riding to Kururu. She cried out loudly that trouble had occurred. The hero asked what had happened. Isolin says that new people have arrived for resettlement. The hero asks, "What's wrong with that?" The girl says that one after another, whole crowds of gnomes and cat demons are coming. She says that this is a very serious matter. Suddenly, a girl appears on Kuru. Tadashi asks Iceland if she will introduce them. The girl opens up completely and asks the hero if he is the same as Dasha Farmer, the king of this country. The hero asks the girl who she is. Suddenly, Iceland interrupts the conversation. She accuses him of betrayal and says that he is the leader of a caravan of cat demons. The girl says she's pleased to meet you. She introduces herself as Shinku, the cat-eared leader of the trading caravan. Islaya remarks that this is a rather interesting name for a trading caravan. The hero replies that cat demons are a breed of cat. Shinku says it's easier for customers to remember. Their symbol is everyone's favorite cat with ears and a tail. The girl wonders if the hero has been reborn. She believes that the goddess Mia introduced the believers to him. She says that the hero illuminated the area and in an instant built a village and plowed the fields. That is why she thought that he was reborn. Shinku asks if he can check out the area just in case. The hero agrees but says he has to meet with the dwarves. Iceland offers to take on some of the work. She is willing to go with Shinka while the hero meets with the dwarves. Tadashi agrees and says that he trusts the girl. The hero jumps onto Kururu and tells him not to keep the gas waiting for him long because he is going to meet the dwarves. The hero arrives at the place and sees the dwarves in front of him, approaches them. One of the dwarves calls out and asks if he is the king of Tadashi. The hero confirms this and asks the dwarf if he is the chief among them. The dwarf nods affirmatively and says that he is from the great mind of the principality of Frontwreath. His name is Barren, and he is the leader of the dwarven group. Ashi said that fortunately they had enough land, so the dwarves could live peacefully with them. As for trees and food, he would make sure there was enough of everything, so the dwarves could settle in the mountains near the mines not far from the village. The hero tells him that not only magical ore, but even jewels can be found in the mountains. Overnon asks if Tadashi can tell him such important information. The hero replies that this was one of Mr. Barkin's instructions, so he thinks he can trust it. Hearing this, the dwarf burst into tears of happiness. He called the hero a very generous man, and promised that both of his hands would serve King Tadashi for the rest of his life. The hero smiled in response, and said that this was a bit of an exaggeration. Tadashi extends his hand and suggests that they head to the mine as soon as possible. He says that now he and the gnomes are true brothers. The gnome shakes Tadashi's hand and promises to fight side by side with him. The hero believes that in the north there will be a village with mines, owned by Oberon and other dwarves. He will supply them with everything they need. To the south, on the island of Kanbar, 1,000 people will settle. The cat demons are already preparing an international trading port. They also decided to build a fortress by the river in the center of each settlement, so that it would become the foundation for the kingdom. Shinku says that the trade is going according to plan. She also adds that the export of magical iron and magical steel is prohibited. Tadashi wonders why these metals cannot be exported. The girl says that this is all because the country is preparing for war. She explains that weapons made of magical iron and steel will give their country an advantage. Iseline asks what kind of war with the county she is talking about. The girl replies that if so many people are allowed to come, it will be a real declaration of war. Iseline says that she and her people will leave the island once their debts are fully paid. She explains that this area was originally set aside for those who could not live in the principality, so the principality itself will not even notice. Shinku says that the girl is too naive. He explains that most of the people on Ganbar Island have already left and are still leaving the island. She agrees that no one will notice because the country's leaders are complete fools. But she still prepares a counterattack strategy, considering various possible options. Tadashi says that he trusts her because he himself knows nothing about military matters. Shinku says she can be relied on. Owarin replies that the dwarves will also do their best for the king. Isolena says that this time the sea elves and island demi-humans will not act like they did last time. Shinku scares the girl a little, saying that if anyone attacks them, they will simply run away to the nearest fishing village. Eren encourages her, saying that they have her and she should be brave. Shinku sarcastically says that he wants to hear her plan then. The hero tries to separate them. He says he is looking forward to hearing from both of them. Shinku says that even though the Count's army is strong, if they act in a coordinated manner, it will help them win. She says that everything will depend on Tadashi's strength. The hero asks what she is talking about. The girl tells him that his divine power came down from the heavens. Shinku heard that this power is capable of purifying this entire land. The hero says he doubts he has fully mastered it, so it's unlikely he will have enough strength for battle. Shinku turns to Tadashi and asks him not to be so prejudiced. She says that the hero's power is a powerful weapon that has made these lands richer. The hero looks at her in surprise. Tadashi says he'll think about it. He realizes he's willing to do whatever it takes to protect his loved ones. He's the king and he has to stand up for his people. The events are transferred to Frontrunner County, to the Palace of the Century. Matilda screams in confusion because it is about the launch of a large mine, thanks to which their country will be able to exist. She is told that the workers have been disappearing one by one. The girl does not understand why this has happened. She knows that if they cannot produce weapons, their army will fall apart. Suddenly, Eugene comes in and apologizes. He brings Matilda something, and she asks what it is. Eugene replies that he brought it for her because it is somehow related to what happened. Ojan says that these mushrooms are collected on the border of the territory of Ganbol Island. He explains that there are not so many mushrooms growing on their island. The girl tastes the mushroom and admits that she does not quite understand what the man is leading her to. Othan says that, simply put, people have left for where the land is more fertile. The girl replies that there is no place better than the land of dreams. Oceans reports the results of the investigation. A new kingdom has appeared on the border. Matilda says she has heard about border areas becoming uninhabitable. She does not believe that the missing citizens left the country and fled abroad. She is annoyed that they did this before the Demon Kingdom had a chance to respond. She asks who can take on this matter. Suddenly, a voice is heard from outside the door. It turns out to be Graham, a 4-star general of the Celestial Star Army and the owner of a magic sword. He asks for permission to destroy the kingdom. The girl asks OGN if he can do this. The man flatly refuses. He asks Matilda to remember how he worked on the island of Kanbar. His squad of 100 people attacked the beastmen without permission and burned down an entire village. The girl says she is busy with preparations. She doesn't mind if someone replaces her. The criminal general replies that she should have realized this much earlier. Eugene tries to argue, but Matilda is adamant. She says she has already decided to rely on Graham's squad. Eugene looks at her in surprise. The girl asks Graham not to let her down this time. He promises to live up to her expectations. Graham and the team head to the island. Someone among them says that the rumors are true. Graham confirms, indeed, all the elves, beastmen, and others have already gone to the borderlands. He says that if they try to escape, it will be their big mistake. The man again thinks about how to take advantage. Graham orders his men to loot as much as possible and takes on the task of finding out important information in enemy territory. The soldiers obey. After work, Graham plans to have some fun. The squad enters the village and is surprised to find no one there. The soldier says that the island's elves and beastmen have disappeared somewhere and no one knows where exactly. Suddenly, they hear a noise from the side. Demonic beasts rush at them. The squad is completely stunned. The soldiers shout that they must disperse. One of the soldiers says that some simple bird is clinging to him and pecking at his hand. Graham fights off the monsters with all his might. He shouts to the soldiers not to let their guard down. Graham explains that these are not ordinary animals, but demonic cows and chickens, which are A-class beasts. He orders all 5 opponents to attack. It seems strange to him that these demonic animals are so aggressive. Graham realizes that he was too careless, and now he should be more careful in this area. Shinku, Aaron, and Tadashi hide in the bushes and observe the scene. Shinku says that by using demonic beasts, they are indeed reducing the number of soldiers, just like Aaron said. Shinku asks Irina why she has been silent for so long. Suddenly, the girl asks Tadashi to leave the soldiers with Shinku. The hero wonders if she wants to attack them. The girl tells him that her village was burned down and she will never forgive him. Now she wants revenge. Tadashi tries to calm Aaron down, but she stands her ground. She says that they need to act now, otherwise never. The girl asks the hero to leave quickly. Tadashi realizes that the attack is about to begin. The girl rushes into battle, thanking the hero for permission to attack. A squad of beastmen rushes after her at the enemies. The beastmen charge into battle. Graham looks around and sees them. He is about to run, but at that moment someone calls out to him. The ruler of the beastmen appears before him. He remembers this girl. She immediately attacks him. Graham is amazed by her unusual sword. The man says that since Aaron fights with a magic sword, she has taste. The girl is filled with hatred for the enemy. She is sure it was he who set the village on fire. But suddenly, Graham begins to smile. He says that this time Aaron will die in the flames. He puts a sulfuric acid spell on his sword. Then he attacks the girl. She manages to dodge and it stuns the man. Graham doesn't understand how she managed to escape. The girl says that now he won't humiliate her anymore. Aaron adds that thanks to Tadashi, she became a level 4 warrior. Graham wonders why the sulfuric acid spell doesn't work on the girl. Aaron attacks her again. She quickly repels his attacks, striking back. At one point, the girl breaks his sword and then pierces Aaron's chest with her own sword. The girl presses the sword to her chest and says that the gram is for Cornell. The man looks at Aaron in horror. He starts coughing. The girl grits her teeth and screams that Graham is here and will soon leave this world. The man looks at Aaron and mocks her again. The girl pulls a sword from her body. She stands there confused. Suddenly, Dash comes up from behind and asks if Irina is okay. The girl turns to the hero and says that she managed to do everything. The hero looks at her and says that she really did it. He says that this battle is for their sake. Events are transferred to the favorite's principality, Century Castle. Matilda learns that Graham's squad was defeated, but she does not believe that Graham himself, the owner of the demonic sword, could have lost. Oyan assures her that everything happened exactly like that. He says that according to the soldiers who miraculously managed to escape, the detachment was attacked by demonic beasts and beastmen. The girl asks again. She asks if the neighboring kingdom uses demonic beasts. Ojan says they underestimated their enemies. The girl starts to get annoyed, but then she says that this information is still important now. Ogin tells her that they are collecting data from migrants and smugglers leaving the country. A letter recently arrived from the kingdom of Tadishi, their neighbor. Matilda unfolds the letter. Ogin writes that they have several issues to discuss with the representatives of the principality, including the issue of the captured soldiers. Matilda says she will come and discuss everything. Owen asks if she can handle it herself. The girl replies that as a squad commander, she cannot abandon her comrades who have been captured. Ogin looks at her in surprise, then says he'll make the necessary preparations then. The girl says that in the end, the glorious army of the Celestial Star suffered a cruel defeat at the hands of beasts and beastmen. She admits that it was a mistake to underestimate the situation and simply let everything go. Ogin asks Matilda not to do anything rash and not to repeat past mistakes. The girl replies that she is no longer a child and is not going to listen to advice. The girl clenches her fists. Ogin obeys. But he says that sometimes a leader needs to stop and look at the situation. Matilda replies that there is no stopping now. She says that everything is ready to sail, so they must set off for the Flounder Islands with 2,000 knights and 20,000 legionnaires, as planned. The girl says she will take 1,000 knights abroad with her. Ohin says he will go with her to negotiate. The girl agrees. Everyone arrives on the island and wonders what kind of port Tadashi's kingdom is building. They enter the dock. Matilda doesn't understand where they got the money for it. Ojin replies that they are supported by the Shinku Trading Company, as well as the Katye Company, who have received the blessings of the God of Wisdom. Matilda says she doesn't see any warships or soldiers. She believes that despite all their wealth, they have little military power. Owen suggests that perhaps they are simply hiding their true capabilities. Munchin says that there are very dangerous demon beasts roaming around the borders of Tadashi's kingdom. He also reminds her that he has told Matilda many times before, "Never let your guard down." The girl says she knows it anyway. Suddenly there is a greeting from behind. It's Tadashi. He asks if they are representatives of the principality. The girl asks who they are. The hero replies that his name is Tadashi Ono. He is a farmer by profession, but he is also the king of this country. The girl is surprised that an ordinary person like him can cause so much trouble. Eugene whispers something quietly to Matilda and points to the hero's hand. He tells her that he has 9 lucky stars on his hand. Tadashi says that he is often told that this is very rare. He adds that the 7 stars are associated with agriculture, blacksmithing, and heroism. The girl does not believe that the hero really has so many stars. Eugene tells her that she should believe it. Matilda is indignant. She says that the man is making her believe some joke about many stars. Ojin says that it is impossible to create such a rich country on a neglected frontier. But if the hero has received the blessing of the god of agriculture, then this can be explained. Matilda is angry. Tadashi mentions the peace talks. Shinku says their demand is simple. They will return the captured knights and forgive the invasion of their lands. In return, the principality must acknowledge their existence and not interfere in their lives. Matilda thinks it's just arrogance. She says the heroes took 10,000 people from them. Ham teases the girl, saying that this happens when a principality declines. Tadashi says that the principality of Matilda needs food. He says they can sell it cheaper if they use the trade routes. Matilda refuses. Then the hero asks what they need. Matilda replies that she first wants to bring back her people, the craftsmen, and also demands that the beastmen and elves also return to the island. The head dwarf says that they came to Tadashi of their own free will, so they can decide for themselves who to serve. The elves also move closer to Tadashi. They say they have become Dashi's wives, so they will only listen to him now. Aaron adds that Matilda will no longer be their leader. Matilda says that they already have a true ruler, and she doesn't care what others decide. She won't accept this offer. Instead, she offers to become their vassal state. In exchange, she promises to protect them from the threat of the demon lord. Aaron is outraged. She says that such a condition cannot be accepted because the principality has not fulfilled its duties for a long time. To this, Matilda says that if they don't want to accept her offer, she will just go home. Matilda and Ogun return to the kingdom. Ogun wants to talk, but Matilda interrupts him and assures him that everything is fine, even better than expected. She insists that the army must be immediately organized to cross to the island of Kamba. The girl says that they will attack Tadashi's kingdom now. Ojin is shocked and asks if they are really going to use the army to respond to the demon kingdom. He says that no one knows the true military strength of the Tadashi kingdom. Ojin replies that there is no information. Starting a war under such circumstances is a violation of basic military rules. The girl says that's why they're planning to attack suddenly. Matilda adds that the enemy already has at least 10,000 demonic beasts, and they can't wait for them to get even stronger. Matilda says they'll have to fight both the demon kingdom and Tadashi's kingdom at the same time. It's no joke, but they'll do it anyway. She asks Ogun if he has seen those fertile lands. She says that if all goes well, they will be able to double their army without any problems, and then victory over the demon king's army will be theirs. Ogun asks if Matilda plans to rely on luck to save her country. The girl replies that their state is in such a situation now that without risk it will not survive. She says that, as the commander-in-chief of the principality's army, commander of the government knights, and representative of the prince, she is ordering a surprise attack on the Tadashi kingdom. Matilda says that if they do not fight back, their situation in these lands will only worsen. Ogun replies that he understands her and will carry out this order out of respect for her. The events are transferred to the island of Kanbar. A soldier approaches Ogun and says that the attack of the demonic beasts was repelled. Ogun notes that it was not easy. In the end, many monsters were defeated. No matter how hard the demons tried, they could not stand against an army of 20,000 people. Ocean wonders if it's time to end Lady Matilda's invasion of the port. He orders a soldier to take the ship and head to Madame Matilda. The soldier follows this order. Ogin believes that there is enough food in the city and deliveries are still ongoing. He can only hope that the girl does not make the wrong choice. Ogun informs Matilda that the entire coastline of the city is already occupied, and the attack of demonic creatures has been repelled. The girl says she didn't doubt him. She believes it will be a great victory. Ojan looks at her. Then he asks, "Why do anything further?" The girl does not understand at all what the man is talking about. Ojin says they encountered no resistance, only demon beasts. He believes that all the inhabitants must have been evacuated inland. According to him, the enemies thought the attack would be sudden. Matilda understands that even the OGN would not be able to make a surprise attack. The man says that according to the report, a castle has been built on the River of Sorrows. He thinks that the main base of the enemy troops is there. Perhaps a trap will be waiting for them there. The girl says that it turns out that Tadashi and the others are there too. She wants to attack as soon as possible. Bojin tries to argue with her. Matilda asks her husband if he still hasn't realized that the most valuable treasure of these lands is himself. The girl says that the fertile fields appeared because of him, so she wants to capture him alive. Ojin replies that it is too dangerous since he has all 9 blessing stars. Matilda says that even if they defeat his blessing, they don't have the blessing of farming. Even the hero's blessing only has 1 star, so their military force is small. The girl says she will always be vigilant and fight to the end. Ocean replies that she will go immediately to negotiate with King Tadashi. He says they can win now, but if they waste their strength on capturing these fertile lands, they won't be able to win the war with the Demon King. Matilda says that Ojan is talking nonsense, because he himself said earlier that there are many traps there. He will not be able to go there alone. The man added that if he goes alone, he will die. But he believes that if the main army is dealt a crushing blow, the principality will fall. The girl denies that there might not be any traps at all. Odzin interrupts her, asking if she was taught not to do whatever she wanted. The girl yells at him, accusing him of trying to be a mentor. She says that if they set traps, they will have many enemies. Ojin interrupts her and declares that this is exactly what he wants. Suddenly, the girl loudly calls out his name. She says that a small number of soldiers will be enough to hold the occupied territories. She wants to throw the entire army of the principality to destroy the river castle. She claims that this is her final decision. Eugene is shocked and tries to stop Lady Matilda. The army of the principality launched a swift attack. The hero, given his past experience, guessed that this would happen, but only a few people remained in the port, who did not have time to quickly evacuate. Tadashi hopes that the prediction will not come true. Suddenly, Eren flies to him on Kura. She reports that there are only about 200,000 enemies and probably 3,000 soldiers. Tadashi decides to just watch. The ships are already approaching. All the ships left the island. Shinku, who sold information about the army of the principalities to the heroes, had thought out her plan well, but there is no guarantee that the heroes will win. Tadashi thinks to himself, although the fortress is called the Royal Castle, it is actually just a wall of magical steel built around a fortification. Suddenly, Shinku approached Tadashi and asked him what he was doing. The hero replied that she said he could do something. He thought for a long time about how he could protect everyone. He understands that he cannot allow the principality to destroy the village, the city, the country, everything that he himself created. So from now on, he will do whatever he can. Shinku looks at the hero with a smile. Unexpectedly, she turns to Tadashi and moves closer to him. The girl kisses the hero and then leaves. She says that if he wins the war, he can marry her. The hero looks at her embarrassedly and says that in fact, the girl has always wanted exactly this. The girl says that she thinks this is the right place. Tadashi asks if they should confess first and then kiss. She replies that in the case of the hero, that won't work, because if they tell him everything first, he will refuse. The hero smiles. Then he thanks the girl for helping him cheer up. He says she even joked about it. Shinku says that everything really happened that way. The hero concentrates and realizes that he managed to get this far, thanks to the friends he met in this world over a long time. The elf Ice Aline, the beastman Aaron, the dwarf Overon, the cat girl Sinku, and Fenrir Karuru. They are all very dear to the hero. Suddenly, he remembers the words of Kronos. He said that a river of sorrow flows here, poisoned by a dangerous poison. Thanks to the blessing of agriculture, the hero will be able to purify both the water and the land. The hero recalls how he once received the power of a blessing, thanks to which he was able to cleanse a river poisoned with a deadly poison, in a place where no one could live before. He dips his hand into the water and begins to cleanse it with his blessing. The action is transferred to the army on an enemy ship, to the cabin. Eugene and Matilda hear screams, run out of the cabin. The girl asks what happened. She is told that the bottom of the ship is constantly leaking. Suddenly, a huge fish jumps on board. Matilda asks Ogun what this mysterious, terrifying fish is. The man replies that it is a fierce, demonic fish called a devil salmon that lives in poisoned rivers. The girl says she looks like she stepped out of the pages of legend. Matilda asks why she's here. Ogun suggests that maybe it's Tadashi's power. Ogun starts to worry about his army, because he suddenly understands something.